Welcome to AI Otaku Studio. Like, subscribe, and enjoy this video. Chapter 1: Sky Screen Emerald Swan. This is a Xuanhuan world. There is no magic, no kai, no martial arts, only the magical spirit. Here, everyone undergoes a spirit awakening at the spirit hall when they turn 6. Spirits can be animals, plants, or objects, and they can assist in people's daily lives. Among them, some exceptional spirits can be used to cultivate and engage in combat. This profession is the most powerful and glorious on the Douluo Continent, the Spirit Master. At this moment, in the Supreme Pontiff Palace in Spirit City, hundreds of children who had just turned 6 were lined up under the guidance of several deacons, waiting for the Spirit Masters at the front to conduct their spirit awakening. These children were orphans from within a 200-mile radius of Spirit City. They usually lived in the Jisai orphanage, established by the Spirit Hall, and were sent to Spirit City upon turning 6 to undergo the spirit awakening in the Supreme Pontiff Palace. On the high platform with 19 steps, Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong sat upon the throne. She wore a magnificently gorgeous purple-gold dress, layered and flowing, outlining her slender and proud curves. She wore a 9-curved purple-gold crown and held a scepter embedded with a huge gemstone. Her face was so perfect it did not seem like that of a mortal. Her skin was as white as snow, her lips were a faint cherry pink, and her violet eyes, which should have been romantic and mysterious, had turned into 2 bottomless cold pools. I wonder if 1 or 2 geniuses who are slightly worth looking at will appear among these brats this year, Bibi Dong thought to herself, looking down at the hundreds of children below. Boom! At that moment, a loud noise suddenly came from the sky outside, deafeningly loud. Everyone in the palace changed color instantly. An enemy attack, who was so bold? Whoosh! Bibi Dong reflexively stood up immediately, clutching her scepter, and shot out. At the same time, 2 figures rushed out of the main hall following her. Ghost Douluo Goimei. Chrysanthemum Douluo Yuguan. They were both elders of the Spirit Hall, both with spirit power reaching level 95, and were the 2 most active titled Douluo in the Spirit Hall. The 3 of them arrived outside the hall, each activating their spirit and circulating their spirit power, looking alert. Then, when they looked up at the sky, the alertness on their faces instantly froze, replaced by intense disbelief. How is this possible? Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong frowned, her lips slightly parted, and she murmured. The same scene was happening elsewhere. In the Imperial Palace of Heaven Du City, Emperor Zhu Yi was followed by Crown Prince Zhu Qinghe, Prince Zhu Exing, and Prince Zhu Beng. All 4 looked up at the sky, their expressions trembling. Is this a miracle? Emperor Zhu Yi said with a trembling voice. Meanwhile, in the 7 treasure-glazed tile school, Ning Fengzhai was also looking up at the sky with Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo. The Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect. The Clear Sky Sect. Various sects, families, and Flender and Yu Xiaorogang from Shrek Academy, located on the outskirts of Soto City, all had strange expressions on their faces and turned their gazes toward the sky. The sky, which had been as clear as a wash, was now being rapidly devoured by ink-like dark clouds. Fierce winds roared across the land, shaking big trees, causing the doors and windows of buildings to rattle. A palpitating sense of oppression descended, as if the end of the world were approaching. This state of the sky lasted for about 5 or 6 breaths, and then it changed violently. A humming sound resonated across the continent. A 7-colored ray of light emerged from the center of the firmament, then spread rapidly. A moment later, it drove away the dark clouds and replaced them, covering the entire sky. A giant sky screen, spanning the horizon, unfolded. Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong tightened her grip on the scepter, her brows furrowing even more. This was definitely not a human method. Could it be the work of some god? At Shrek Academy, Tang San, who was cultivating the mysterious heaven skill, also frowned. An anomaly in the sky, was it an opportunity or a danger? The various forces on the continent, regardless of their stance or strength, had all become tiny spectators under this sky screen at this moment. Surprise, fear, greed, awe, countless emotions sprouted and spread in every corner. Amidst this complex surge of emotions from all living beings, this sky screen suddenly became dark, plunging the entire continent into pitch blackness. Immediately after, it suddenly lit up again, the dazzling light causing everyone to subconsciously squint. Once their vision adjusted, everyone's gaze seemed to be sucked in by a magnet. unable to move away from this magical scene for even a second. Inside a majestic royal palace, a frail young body knelt helplessly on the ground. An angry shout came from the steps. "You bold, rebellious son, how dare you be disrespectful to the king? How dare you slander your mother for trying to harm you? Your mother comes from the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School and is your stepmother. If she really wanted to kill you, she only needs to tell the king, and the king would not refuse. Why would she need to use such filthy methods? Rebellious son, the king does not have an unfilial son like you. Pass the order, strip Zhu Hen of his status as a prince, drive him out of the Balak kingdom and let him fend for himself." Then the scene changed. The young body was escorted out of Balak city by soldiers on an ox cart, then escorted out of their entire Balak kingdom, and arrived in a small city called Nyuding City in the Fasanu province. The soldiers who escorted the boy left after sending him to this city. The boy was lonely and helpless, wandering the streets, fortunately meeting Master Su Yuntao of the local Spirit Hall branch, who led him to the Jisai orphanage established by the Spirit Hall in Nyuding City to live, which gave him a place to stay. Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong frowned. She asked the chrysanthemum Douluo and ghost Douluo beside her, "Tell me, what exactly is this? A charm-type spirit? Divine skill?" "Your Holiness, it seems that 15 years ago, King of Barak Kundera did indeed order his youngest son to be demoted to a commoner and driven out of the country." Chrysanthemum Douluo suddenly thought of something and bowed to answer Bibi Dong. 15 years ago, hearing this, Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong was stunned, then looked up at the sky again. The scenes just now, were they things that actually happened 15 years ago? Inside the Balak royal palace, King of Barak Kundera was hugging his favorite concubine, Ning Pianpian, looking up at the sky. At this moment, he was in a state of distraction. "Is this not something from years ago? How could this thing display things that happened in the past?" Kundera murmured. Hearing the murmuring of the man beside her, Ning Pianpian suddenly panicked. She was a distant cousin of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School sect Master Ning Fengjai. Relying on this identity and her own outstanding appearance, she firmly grasped Kundera's heart, did whatever she wanted in the harem of the Balak kingdom, framed the queen to death, and wanted to kill all the princes not born to her, so that her own 6th prince, Prince Xu Tian, could inherit the throne in the future without suspense. Now such a scene that could show things that happened in the past appeared in the sky. If it displayed the things she had done, what would she do? Ning Pianpian was very worried. Fortunately, the thing she was worried about did not happen, and the screen changed again. Inside the Nyuding City Spirit Hall branch, the boy named Zhu Hen had turned 6. The person in charge of the branch, Elder Mashinuo, personally conducted the spirit awakening for 9 youths, including him. In the end, the 8 youths in front awakened spirits that were either gloves, wooden boards, or blue-silver grass, all trash spirits. Only he awakened a pure white swan. Wait, this pure white swan spirit mutated as soon as it was released. The whole body began to turn from white to green, and bloomed with dazzling emerald light. This is Emerald Swan Spirit. Chapter 2: Twin Spirits. In reality, before the Supreme Pontiff Palace, Bibi Dong's gaze suddenly sharpened, staring intently at the mutated spirit that appeared behind the young boy on the sky screen. Emerald light, a proud swan. There is no mistake, it is the Emerald Swan Spirit. The Heaven Dew Imperial family's legacy spirit, the swan, was originally devolved from the Emerald Swan. For over 10,000 years, not a single person in their imperial family has possessed the Emerald Swan Spirit. Who would have thought that this child, abandoned by the King of Barak, would actually awaken this spirit, Gui Mei? This subordinate is here. Ghost Douluo, looking at the scene on the sky screen, was also shocked. Hearing Bibi Dong's call, he immediately lowered his head and replied, "Go to Nyuding City and bring this Zhu Hen back to me." With him, the title of the world's #1 support system spirit will no longer belong to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, but to our Spirit Hall, Bibi Dong instructed Gui Mei. "Yes, Your Eminence." Gui Mei placed his right hand on his left chest and replied respectfully. Afterwards, he transformed into a mass of black energy and vanished from there. However, after leaving for a moment, he realized that the sky screen was showing events from 15 years ago. It was very likely that the boy named Zhu Hen was no longer in Nyuding City. Would he still be able to find him if he went there? Meanwhile, in the Heaven Dew Imperial Palace, Emperor Zhu Yi and the others also recognized the young boy named Zhu Hen and the spirit behind him. The Emerald Swan, the spirit that the ancestors of the Heaven Dew Imperial family once possessed. Kundra, you idiot! Emperor Zhuyi clenched his fists, his face filled with regret and anger. Across a distance of 10,000 li, he cursed his cousin. To abandon his own child for a woman, what on earth is inside this guy's head? Afterwards, he hurriedly instructed Prince Zhu Xing beside him. Zhu Xing, quickly, send someone to that Nuo, whatever city in Fictional province, and bring that child Zhu Hen back for me. With him, our Heaven Du imperial family will be able to possess the Emerald Swan spirit once again in the future. Yes, imperial brother. Prince Zhu Xing also understood the importance of this matter, immediately agreed, and prepared to set off for Fictional province. Who would have thought that just as he turned around and took a step, a disappointed voice came from the sky screen. Elder Mashinu shook his head and sighed. A beast spirit, the Azure Swan. Although it is not a trash spirit, how much combat power can a swan have? It's just slightly stronger than a chicken or a duck. Master Su Yuntao nodded in agreement. Emperor Zhu Yi. Prince Zhu Xing. Bibi Dong before the Supreme Pontiff Palace. At this moment, all the spirit masters on the continent, who recognized the Emerald Swan spirit, were stunned. Are these two clowns sent by a monkey? That is the Emerald Swan, an Emerald Swan spirit that possesses super strong vitality and healing abilities, and you are evaluating its strength based on attack power. Discussing the attack power of a support system spirit, is this something a human would do? These two idiots, could they have missed this genius? If that is the case, then they are truly sinners against our spirit hall. Beside Bibi Dong, Chrysanthemum Douluo Yu Guan couldn't help but mutter. Bibi Dong's brows furrowed tightly. She also had this worry. All right, children, let's test your innate spirit power. After sighing, Elder Mashinu took out a crystal ball and said to the 9 youths, including Zhu Hen, following the order from the earlier spirit awakening, everyone took turns taking the crystal ball to test their spirit power. No spirit power, no spirit power. Of the first 8 children, only the boy who awakened the wooden board spirit had level 1 innate spirit power. The others had no spirit power at all, which meant they could not become spirit masters. When it was Zhu Hen's turn, he followed Elder Mashinu's instructions, took the crystal ball with both hands and relaxed his body. Suddenly, the crystal ball in his hands bloomed with a dazzling blue light. In an instant, everyone present was stunned. Especially Elder Mashinu and Master Su Yuntao, because they knew what this light meant. The two looked at each other and then said almost simultaneously, innate full spirit power. Their tone was full of shock. Obviously, neither of them had ever thought that a boy who had awakened a low-level spirit like the Azure Swan could actually possess innate full spirit power. Inside the Heaven Du Imperial Palace, Emperor Zhu Yi's eyes widened, and his breathing became extremely rapid. Not only did he awaken the Emerald Swan spirit that his ancestors possessed, but his innate spirit power was also at full level 10. This is truly heaven blessing my Zhu clan. Quick, Zhu Xing, hurry and bring this child back for me. Immediately, he turned his head and urged his brother, who had not yet set off. Yes, imperial brother, Prince Zhu Xing replied hurriedly and then set off immediately. However, just like Ghost Douluo, he realized shortly after setting off that the scene was from 15 years ago. Was that child still in that Nuo, whatever city? Shrek Academy. Tangsun temporarily stopped cultivating mysterious heaven skill. He looked up at the vast sky screen, his brows slightly furrowed. Elder Mashinuo and Master Su Yuntao from the Newting City Spirit Hall branch. The spirit that the boy awakened didn't look like much, but his innate spirit power was level 10, just like his own. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? I wonder where that Zhu Hen is now. Perhaps I might meet him in the future, Tangsun thought to himself. Afterwards, he adjusted his thoughts and focused his attention on the sky screen again. On the sky screen, the scene suddenly shifted from daytime to late night. In a small grove next to Jisai Orphanage, in a corner no one cared about, the boy named Zhu Hen stood alone. A green light flashed on his body, and the Emerald Swan spirit appeared behind him. Afterwards, he saw him slowly raise his right hand and open it. Swish! A golden light shot out from his palm. Then, after he fully spread his palm, it transformed into a golden longsword, which he held firmly. This longsword was engraved with the images of the sun, moon, and stars on one side, and textures of mountains, rivers, grass, and trees on the other. The boy looked at the longsword in his hand, his eyes narrowed, his gaze extremely sharp. His tone suppressed intense excitement as he said, I didn't expect that I would not only awaken the Zhu clan ancestors' Emerald Swan spirit, but also possess twin spirits. This is the King Power Sword. It seems a bit different. Did it mutate? Twin spirits, in reality, Tangsan's brows furrowed even deeper. Not only does he have innate full spirit power like me, but he also possesses two spirits like me. This Zhu Hen will surely be a great rival on my path to becoming a powerhouse. Besides the sword in his hand, the sword body has the sun, moon, stars, mountains, rivers, grass, and trees. How is it a bit similar to the sword of the human Emperor Xuanyuan from the legends of my previous life? No, it's impossible. How could a divine weapon from my previous life appear in this Douluo Continent in the form of a spirit? Coincidence, this must be a coincidence. On the other side, Yu Zairogang was also stunned. He didn't expect that in this world, besides his disciple Tang San, there was another genius who possessed twin spirits and innate full spirit power. The sky screen initially showed events from 15 years ago. By this calculation, he is 8 years older than little San, so he should be 20 to 21 years old now. Good, if this child is still alive and has no teacher, I can take him as my disciple. With him and little San here, my Yu Zairogang's theories will surely be proven. Just as Yu Zairogang was thinking this, the scene on the sky screen began to change again. Zhu Hen quietly left the Jisai orphanage in Newding City under the cover of night. He first went to the outskirts of the Stardew Great Forest. Through various means such as digging traps, ambushing, and using poison, he hunted a 400-year-old armor-piercing golden rhinoceros. The horn of this type of spirit beast can ignore the vast majority of physical defenses of spirit beasts of the same realm. The boy was born into the royal family. Although he was still young, he seemed to already possess a lot of knowledge. Not only did he recognize these spirit beasts and could distinguish their age, but he also knew what their strengths and weaknesses were. He absorbed this armor-piercing golden rhinoceros's spirit ring and attached it to the spirit that was said to be mutated from the King Power Sword. From then on, he possessed his first spirit ring and spirit ability. The spirit ability is called armor-piercing. The effect unleashes an extremely sharp sword Kai slash, which has a very strong penetration effect against spirit power defenses. Chapter 3, titled Douluo. After Zhu Hen obtained his first spirit ring, the speed at which the images on the sky screen changed became significantly faster. He wandered everywhere to cultivate, fighting mercenaries, fighting spirit beasts, hunting spirit beasts again, and obtaining spirit rings. The second spirit ring he added to the long sword spirit in his hand was taken from a spirit beast with over 700 years of cultivation, the 8-spear spider emperor, and the spirit ability obtained was called 8 Directions Sword Lock. Its effect was releasing 8 streams of sword Kai to lock down space and restrict enemy movement, and the sword Kai could be detonated at any time. Next, using the gold coins he obtained from selling spirit beast corpses, he bought a fake identity document from a deacon of a spirit hall branch, renamed himself Jian Hen, named his spirit the Imperial Power Sword, completed his Spirit Master registration at the Spirit Hall, and began to receive the Spirit Master subsidy. Then he signed up for spirit fighting using the name Jian Hen, constantly sparring with various spirit masters. As days rose and set, time flew by, 10 years after his spirit awakening. Such a line of text appeared on the sky screen. Then, on a spirit fighting platform, a man wearing a silver mask swung the long sword in his hand, and sword Kai rampaged. In an instant, the defense of the opposing Black Tortoise Spirit Master was shattered, and he was sent flying out of the ring. The man was much taller than when he was a teenager, but countless spectators in reality could still recognize him. He was Zhu Hen. A small line of text appeared beside him. Level 73 Attack System Battle Spirit Saint Zhu Hen. In reality, every part of the continent tacitly fell into a state of silence. Subsequently, a series of shocked howls erupted across the lands. Holy crap, level 73. How is this possible? In front of the Supreme Pontiff Palace, Bibaidong also widened her eyes, her hand gripping her scepter trembling slightly. This was not fear but shock. A 16-year-old level 73 spirit saint, this kid, is way too much of a prodigy, right? We must not let him continue to grow. This child must join the spirit hall, otherwise, he must die, Bibaidong said coldly. Shrek Academy. Yu Zairogang, who had originally wanted to take Zhu Hen as his disciple, was now speechless. His own disciple, Tang San, was almost 13 years old and was currently only a level 29 Spirit Grandmaster. In his view, Zhu Hen would be at most a level 59 Spirit King, but what did the sky screen say? A Spirit Saint. That kid was already a level 73 Attack System Battle Spirit Saint years ago. How can I take him as a disciple now? This kid has probably broken all previous records. He's the youngest Spirit Saint on the entire continent. Flender, standing aside, looked up at the sky screen and exclaimed, 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Ning Fengzhai's brows were tightly knit, with sword Douluo Chenzin and bone Douluo Gu Rong following behind him. Fengzhai, that kid has a grudge against your cousin, and this resentment likely makes him harbor hatred toward our 7 treasure glazed tile school as well. Judging from the timeline of these images, he was already a spirit saint over 5 years ago. With his talent, he must have already entered the spirit Douluo realm by now. We cannot let him continue to grow. We must find a way to eliminate him now, Gu Rong said to Ning Fengzhai. That may be true, but the Heaven Du imperial family probably won't just stand by and watch us deal with him. Besides, killing such a genius is truly a pity, Ning Fengzhai said hesitantly. You. Just as Gu Rong was about to say something more, who knew, the sky screen had already finished playing Zhu Hen becoming a spirit saint and showing off his skills on the spirit fighting platform, yet it didn't stop there and continued playing. 4 years later. These 3 words appeared on the sky screen. Subsequently, scenes unfolded once again. On the vast and boundless ocean, a giant whale spirit beast was constantly thrashing about on the sea. The sky above was covered in dark clouds, with lightning and thunder. Even through the sky screen, everyone could faintly feel an extremely terrifying pressure. Human child, considering your hardened cultivation, leave this place. The giant whale spirit beast spoke in human language. Clearly, this was a super spirit beast, whose cultivation had already reached 100,000 years. Not far in front of it, a proud and solitary white figure stood on the sea, holding a long sword. The 2 sides of the sword blade were engraved with the sun, moon, stars and mountains, rivers, trees and grass, respectively. Spirit rings emerged from beneath his feet. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 red, red. It was actually a titled Douluo, and he even possessed 2 100,000-year spirit rings. And the spirit in this person's hand was. In reality, countless spectators widened their eyes. At this moment, they even subconsciously held their breath. Immediately after, a somewhat deep voice emanated from the sky screen. Your cultivation is not bad either, and life giant whale, your spirit ring is very compatible with my second spirit, so I cannot let you leave. As the words fell, this figure raised his chin, and his appearance subsequently appeared in everyone's line of sight. He had remarkably beautiful features, but not the flashy kind. His brows were straight and his eyes were calm, like a deep pool that had absorbed all the light of the sky. When others looked into them, they could only see their own reflections. His nose bridge was elegant, and his thin lips were slightly pursed. Clearly only in his early 20s, he had already learned to suppress all waves beneath this facade. He was, shockingly, the Zhu Hen from back then. Although he had changed much since growing up, traces of his childhood appearance could still be seen on his face. His, 20 years old, a titled Douluo. It was unknown which part of the continent started it first, but in any case, the sound of gasping breaths rose successively in various places, and exclamations followed one after another. In front of the Supreme Pontiff Palace, Bibi Dong was completely stunned. She had just been saying that this Zhu Hen must either join the spirit hall or die, but then in a turn of events, the screen told her that he was already a titled Douluo and possessed 2 100,000-year spirit rings. How could she make him die now? Your Excellency, this kid is not the same as Dugu Bo. I dare not go and hunt him down. Beside Bibai Dong, Chrysanthemum Douluo's eyelids twitched uncontrollably when he saw this scene, and he quickly said to Bibai Dong. According to past practice, whenever Bibai Dong wanted to kill someone, she would send him an old ghost to do it, just like dealing with Dugu Bo before. But this kid named Zhu Hen, good heavens, having twin spirits was one thing, but he also had 1 attack system and 1 support system, and that was one thing, but he had already entered the titled Douluo realm. That could barely be accepted, but damn it. 2 100,000-year spirit rings, how are we supposed to fight him? You have to know, old ghost, and I don't even have a single 100,000-year spirit ring. Hearing Chrysanthemum Douluo's words, Bibai Dong did not speak, her brows tightly knit. This feeling of something being out of her control made her feel very uncomfortable inside. Her gaze remained fixed upon the sky. Roll, you're courting death, seeing the 100,000-year spirit beast life giant whale. After hearing Zhu Hen's words, the entire fish flew into a rage, let out a furious roar, and simultaneously unleashed its own spirit ability, Great Tsunami. It twisted its body, flashes of blue light flickering, and in an instant, whipped up a massive tsunami within a radius of several nautical miles centered on itself, rushing towards Zhu Hen. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. Facing this power, Zhu Hen stood proudly on the churning sea, his expression calm. His lips parted slightly, and he said indifferently, "Not bad, stronger than that monkey." After speaking, he raised the Imperial Power sword in his hand, and the sword blade erupted with dazzling holy light. Sixth spirit ability, sword settles mountains and rivers. The sixth spirit ring beneath his feet flared with intense black light. The sword seemed to have a spirit of its own. It flew out, hurled into the tsunami. In an instant, centered on the point of impact, a massive range of sea tremors and sword kai erupted, entangling with the chaotic tsunami created by the life giant whale. After dozens of breaths, the tremors and explosions ceased, and the giant waves on the sea subsided, revealing the scene before them. The massive spirit beast corpse floated on the sea, shattered and broken, with blood continuously pouring out from the corpse, dyeing the surrounding sea area red. 100,000 year spirit beast, life giant whale, defeated and dead. In reality, the hearts of all living beings were violently shaken. Chapter 4 100,000 year spirit ring, rise. Is this for real? He killed a 100,000 year spirit beast in one move. At the entrance of the canteen at Shrek Academy, Ma Hongjun clutched his chicken leg, staring at the image on the sky screen in terror. Even for a titled Douluo, even one possessing two 100,000 year spirit rings, they shouldn't be this powerful. Furthermore, Dai Mubai's face had also turned pale. A battle of this magnitude, and a result where he won in an instant, completely shattered his understanding of the spirit master's world, to the point where his voice was trembling. Furthermore, he only used his sixth spirit ability, not a 100,000 year spirit ability. Zhu Zhuqing, standing to the side, spoke the second half of the sentence Dai Mubai hadn't finished. A look of shock and disbelief appeared on her cold face, simultaneously tinged with a hint of longing. Power. If she could possess such powerful strength, would she still need to worry about the fate of her family, or fear the so-called fratricide in the future? No, but... Zhu Zhuqing bit her red lips, a flash of unwillingness and pain crossing her eyes. She knew her own situation best. Her Hell Sivert was not a top-tier spirit, and her talent was not outstanding. With only level 7 innate spirit power, no matter how hard she worked, she could never reach the heights of that Zhu Hen in the images above in her entire lifetime. In the Heaven Du Imperial Palace. Heavens, a titled Douluo who can kill a 100,000 year spirit beast in one move. Ha 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 ha, this is truly heaven blessing my Zhu clan, heaven blessing me. Seeing Zhu Hen's combat power on the sky screen, Emperor Zhu Yi was stunned for quite a while before finally coming to his senses. He dropped the scepter in his hand, raised both hands high, and laughed towards the sky, laughing until tears streamed down his face. Heaven have mercy, their Heaven Du imperial family had suffered. It had been bitter these years. Although they appeared to have a deep foundation on the surface, holding a million-strong army, this million-strong army was scattered across different locations. Unless it was a national war, it was very difficult to gather them all. As for top-tier combat power, they didn't have a single titled Douluo in the imperial family. It was only because of a life-saving favor that Xu Xing had managed to recruit the weakest titled Douluo, Dugubo, to come as a guest elder. But how could a guest elder compare to one of their own? He desired even more for a titled Douluo to appear within his own imperial family, and now, his wish had finally come true. Their imperial family not only had a titled Douluo, but a super powerful titled Douluo who possessed twin spirits, had extremely high talent, and could kill a 100,000 year spirit beast in one move at just 20 years old. With him here, their imperial family's status on the continent would be elevated in the future, and their rule over the empire would be even more stable. Hearing Emperor Zhu Yi's wild laughter, behind him Cayenne Renxu, disguised as Zhu King, similarly put on a very excited appearance, as if she were also happy for the Heaven Du imperial family, but little did he know she was sneering in her heart. In those magical images in the sky, that Zhu Hen had indeed exceeded her imagination. Twin spirits, innate full spirit power, entering the rank of titled Douluo at just 20 years old, possessing two 100,000 year spirit rings, and being able to kill a 100,000 year spirit beast in one move. She had to admit he was even more outstanding than her. However, what did such an outstanding person have to do with you, the Heaven Du imperial family? You had to know he had been expelled from the royal family 15 years ago by his father, who was also your good cousin Kundera. He wasn't even considered a member of the Balak royal family now, so how could he be considered a member of the Heaven Du imperial family? HMPH, thinking this, Cayenne Renxu snorted lightly in her heart, feeling happy that the Heaven Du imperial family had lost such a powerful combatant. At the same time, she was also curious. according to the timeline, that Zhu Hen should be just shy of 21 years old now, but a few months older than he was in the current image where he sword-slashed the life giant whale. She wondered where he was now, and just how high his spirit power was. Just as Kyan Renxu was thinking this, the images on the sky screen moved again. A blood-red spirit ring, floated out from the life giant whale's corpse hovering on the sea surface. A 100,000-year spirit ring. In reality, countless spirit masters gazed up at the sky, subconsciously clenching their palms, with intense longing revealed in their eyes. A 100,000-year spirit ring was the most coveted treasure in the spirit master's world. With it, one could not only possess a super powerful 100,000-year spirit ability, but also obtain a 100,000-year spirit bone, because a 100,000-year spirit beast was guaranteed to drop a spirit bone. What a pity this Zhu Hen is already a titled Douluo and cannot absorb any more spirit rings. This 100,000-year spirit ring is going to be wasted just like that, but fortunately there is still a spirit bone to absorb, a disciple from a small sect sighed and said. The senior disciple beside him who had joined the sect earlier than him heard this, nodded first, then suddenly realized, turned his head and shouted at him, "What are you talking nonsense for? Have you forgotten this lit? This lord is a spirit master with twin spirits. Although his first spirit has already been imbued with 9 spirit rings, his second spirit might not have even a single spirit ring attached yet." Hearing this, the disciple was stunned, a look appearing on his face as if the world had gone mad. "So you mean he?" As if to verify the senior disciple's words from the small sect, in the image, after Zhu Hen raised his hand to catch the imperial power sword that flew back, he looked towards that blood-red spirit ring, then stepped onto the sea surface and walked towards it step by step. Then, his entire body hovered into the air. The imperial power sword spirit in his hand turned into a golden light and was retracted. Replacing it was a proud emerald swan spirit that appeared behind him. Shining with a bright green light containing rich vitality, the emerald swan spread its wings and completed possession with the spirit master. The next second, an invisible domain enveloped the surroundings. The blood on the sea surface originating from the life giant whale seemed to have found a funnel to pour into, all of it surging crazily towards Zhu Hen, flowing into his body, or rather, flowing into his spirit. Life domain. An innate domain that came with Zhu Hen when he awakened his emerald swan spirit. It could increase the strength of the spirit by devouring the essence and blood of living beings, strengthening the vitality it contained, and could grant powerful healing abilities to others. In the real world, countless spirit masters were already too shocked to speak after witnessing this scene. An innate domain. Awesome, extremely awesome. After a dozen breaths, the blood on the sea surface had completely disappeared. The emerald swan spirit after Zhu Hen completed possession had become a few shades greener, and its size seemed to have grown a bit larger. Subsequently, he landed on the corpse of the life giant whale, sat cross-legged, released his own spirit power to wrap around that 100,000-year spirit ring, and then closed his eyes, starting to absorb it. It was confirmed. He was going to attach the 100,000-year spirit ring as the first spirit ring for his emerald swan spirit. Chapter 5, Nirvana Mysterious Turtle. Mad. Under the sky screen, countless people watching this scene felt that the world had gone mad. Using a 100,000-year spirit ring as a first spirit ring, how are you completely different from the spirit masters we know? However, considering that this person is a spirit master with twin spirits, and his realm has already reached titled Douluo, absorbing a 100,000-year spirit ring as a titled Douluo seems reasonable. Is this the power of a spirit master with twin spirits? It is truly terrifying. In front of the Supreme Pontiff Palace, Bibi Dong's breathing grew heavy. Using a 100,000-year spirit ring as a first spirit ring, she had thought about this when she first broke through to titled Douluo, but failed. The reason was that she had sent out many spirit masters, but they had not been able to find a solitary 100,000-year spirit beast. Of course, aside from the Titan giant ape, the Sky Azure bull python, and those 2 soft bones rabbits. But at that time, due to various reasons, she was not confident in dealing with those few spirit beasts that were always gathered together. Plus, she urgently needed to increase her strength to secure her position as Supreme Pontiff, so helplessly, she could only choose spirit beasts over 50,000 years old to provide the first few spirit rings for her second spirit. It wasn't until 7 years ago, when she finally secured her position as Supreme Pontiff, that she took Ghost Douluo and Chrysanthemum Douluo to the Stardew Great Forest to hunt spirits. Taking advantage of other spirit masters pinning down the Titan Giant Ape and the Sky Azure Ball Python, they successfully killed one of the Soft Bones rabbits and attached a 100,000-year spirit ring to her soul-eating Spider Emperor spirit. And that was already the 7th spirit ring for her soul-eating Spider Emperor spirit. Yes, her first spirit, Death Spider Emperor, had a spirit ring configuration of yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 red. Her second spirit, Soul-Eating Spider Emperor, had a spirit ring configuration of black, 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 red. There were still 2 spirit rings she had not yet attached, because in her heart, she wanted to attach 100,000-year spirit rings to them. Whether this idea could succeed, she did not yet know, but even if it succeeded, her second spirit would only possess 3 100,000-year spirit rings. Yet now, in the image in the sky, that Zhu Hen had actually attached a 100,000-year spirit ring as the very first ring for his second spirit. This exceeded her by too much. And his first spirit, that Imperial Power Sword, had a spirit ring configuration of 2 yellow, 2 purple, 3 black and 2 red, still 100,000-year spirit ring more than her. His stats were simply suppressing her in every aspect. Thinking of this, Bibidong gripped her scepter even tighter. She did not want to see anyone stronger than her, because to her, this was a variable. She wanted to control everything. Any factor beyond her control should not exist in this world. I must find a way to kill him, even if he is already a titled Douluo. Bibidong's gaze turned cold, and she determined in her heart. Immediately, she continued to focus her attention on the sky screen. Zhu Hen's process of absorbing the life giant whale spirit ring was not difficult, even somewhat easy, as if it were a matter of course. When the time came, the spirit ring was completely absorbed. He stood up on the corpse of the life giant whale, slightly raised his chin, revealing his fair neck and prominent Adam's apple. Spreading his arms, the emerald swan spirit possessed on his body stretched its neck and spread its wings. A clear cry rang out, and a blood-red spirit ring emerged from beneath his feet. Emerald Swan Spirit, First Spirit Ring, 100,000 year. Heaven Dew Imperial Palace. Emperor Zhu Yi was trembling with excitement. A 100,000 year first ring. A Killen child, he is truly a Killen child of my Zhu clan, he said with tears in his eyes. He dared not imagine, with Zhu Hen around, what spirit master in the spirit master's world would dare to look down on their Heaven Dew Imperial family in the future. Look at my nephew, bearing the Imperial Power Sword spirit, a mutation of the King Power Sword, and the Emerald Swan spirit possessed by the ancestors of the Zhu clan. With such a terrifying spirit ring configuration, it would be no exaggeration to call him the strongest spirit master in the world. Wait, strongest? I wonder what rank his spirit power is now. Emperor Zhu Yi suddenly thought of this question. In terms of spirit quality and spirit ring configuration, Zhu Hen was the top of the top, but he did not yet know what his most important spirit power rank was. Thinking this, Emperor Zhu Yi took a deep breath, gazing at the sky screen above with even more anticipation, wanting to see if it could reveal information about Zhu Hen's spirit power rank. On the corpse of the life giant whale, Zhu Hen raised his right hand, and a ball of emerald light flickered in his palm. He opened his mouth and said in a calm voice, First spirit ability, Emerald Recovery, a single target rapid healing spirit ability with an added continuous healing effect for 5 minutes. During this period, the target's maximum health limit is increased by 500%. The other spirit ability is Life Diversion, a passive ability. When casting a healing spirit ability on others, I also gain a life shield equivalent to 30% of the healing amount. Not bad. After speaking, Zhu Hen lowered his arm, dissipated the light in his hand, and deactivated the Emerald Swan spirit possessed on his body. He gazed out at the distant sea, standing there in silence. After a long while, he waved his hand, stored the corpse of the life giant whale beneath his feet into the storage spirit tool necklace hanging around his neck, took a step, and walked in a certain direction. Yes, he was still stepping on the void realm, but unlike before this time, he took a step in the air, and his whole body instantly teleported several hundred meters away. He took another step, and it was an instant teleportation again. Repeating this after a cup of tea's time, he arrived at another sea area. Come out, I've found you, Zhu Hen said to the sea below. Roar! As the words fell, a deafening roar rang out. Bang! Immediately following, a water column shot straight into the clouds, and a massive figure rushed out from the seabed. It turned out to be a Nirvana mysterious turtle, carrying a lava tortoise shell on its back. The Nirvana mysterious turtle was a mutated descendant born after the ancestor of the mysterious turtles devoured a phoenix. Besides the powerful defensive capabilities that a mysterious turtle should possess, they also had the ability to dive into underwater volcanoes when near death and be reborn through fire in the magma. Moreover, looking at the size of this Nirvana mysterious turtle, its cultivation age definitely exceeded 100,000 years, estimated to be between 130,000 and 150,000 years. Sure enough, the next second, this Nirvana mysterious turtle spoke. Human, I can feel your strength, but I have the ability of rebirth through fire. You cannot kill me. Being able to speak human language, this was indeed another spirit beast over 100,000 years old. True, if this were on a volcano, I would indeed be unable to do anything to you, but this is on the sea. I will not give you the chance to dive into an underwater volcano, Zhu Hen said indifferently. Immediately, a golden light flashed in his hand, and the Imperial Power Sword Spirit appeared again. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 red, red, 9 spirit rings flashed out beneath his feet. The Nirvana mysterious turtle's pupils constricted, and it immediately dove toward the seabed. You are too slow. Whoosh! Zhu Hen threw the Imperial Power Sword in his hand. The sword body was covered in dazzling golden light, cutting through the sea area like a meteor, entering the water to pursue it. 6th spirit ability, sword settles mountains and rivers. Boom! Before long, the Imperial Power Sword caught up to the Nirvana mysterious turtle. At the moment it retracted its head and limbs into its shell, it erupted with a large-scale seaquake and sword kai, instantly causing massive damage to it. Above the sea surface, watching the huge commotion in the sea area below, Zhu Hen remained calm. He clapped his hands together forcefully and said, 7th spirit ability, Human Emperor True Body. Hum tilde, a golden beam of light shot out from beneath the sea. Immediately after, a layer of golden battle armor appeared around Zhu Hen's body. A phantom of the Human Emperor, estimated to be over 300 meters tall, quickly emerged from his body. The phantom raised its hand to grasp the beam of light, and this beam of light transformed into a long sword in its hand. Judgment, the Human Emperor Phantom held the long sword, aiming at a certain direction beneath the sea. Zhu Hen narrowed his eyes and said coldly. Boom! As the words fell, the Phantom swung the long sword, and an unrivaled golden sword kai was slashed out, blasting violently toward the area beneath the sea. The corpse of the Nirvana mysterious turtle gradually floated up from under the sea surface. Whoosh! A sound of breaking through the air rang out. Zhu Hen raised his hand to catch the Imperial Power Sword that flew back. The phantom of the Human Emperor that had enveloped him also gradually dissipated at this moment, and the world gradually returned to tranquility. Your defensive power is not bad. It required me to use my spirit ability twice, but your speed is lacking. Looking at the corpse of the Nirvana mysterious turtle below, Zhu Hen said. Immediately after, just as he had done when absorbing the spirit ring of the life giant whale, he descended from the air onto the corpse of the Nirvana mysterious turtle. He deactivated his Imperial Power Sword Spirit, activated his Emerald Swan Spirit, sat cross-legged, and used his spirit power to envelop the blood-red spirit ring, floating out from the corpse of the mysterious turtle. The process of absorbing the spirit ring was still extremely smooth. About half an incense stick of time later, Zhu Hen opened his eyes and stood up from the corpse of the Nirvana mysterious turtle. Hum tilde, a humming sound rang out, and another red spirit ring appeared at his feet. Adding it to the previous one, at this moment, he had already attached two 100,000-year spirit rings to his Emerald Swan Spirit. Are the second spirit abilities Emerald Nirvana Incantation and Self-Immolation Nirvana, a resurrection skill, not bad. The corners of Zhu Hen's mouth lifted slightly as he spoke. Real world. In front of the Supreme Pontiff Palace, Bibai Dong stepped forward, her tone filled with disbelief. A resurrection skill. Behind her, Chrysanthemum Douluo also widened his eyes and said in horror, the spirit ability that the Nirvana mysterious turtle gave him is a resurrection-type spirit ability. How does it resurrect? Are there no restrictions? Can he resurrect whoever he wants? Why doesn't this brat explain all the effects like he did just now? Ah. Noticing Bibaidong turning her head to glare at him with that terrifying expression of disdain for him being too noisy, Chrysanthemum Douluo panicked and hurriedly covered his mouth, but his face still hung with a rich look of terror. This brat named Zhu Hen is too terrifying. Shrek Academy. On a large tree not far from Tang San, a sturdy man wrapped in a black cloak from head to toe, upon hearing the voice coming from the sky screen, immediately had his eyes light up, and he became excited. Resurrection, can you help me resurrect Ah Yin? The man whispered, his voice trembling. Also at Shrek Academy, Zyro Wu, Zhu Zhuqing, Ning Rongrong, and Dai Mubai were all standing at the entrance of the cafeteria, looking up at the image on the firmament. Hearing the words of Zhu Hen transmitted from within, she was also immediately excited. Can this spirit ability of his help me resurrect my mother? Zyro Wu thought to herself. Besides these two places, all parts of the continent were also discussing the second spirit ability of Zhu Hen's Emerald Swan spirit at this moment. At the same time, countless people were hopping in their hearts, hoping that this spirit ability of Zhu Hen could resurrect their important people. Although they knew that even if the other party's spirit ability could do it, the other party might not agree to help them, having an extra glimmer of hope was always good. If the other party's spirit ability could not resurrect their important person, even if they had a way to make him agree to help in the future, it would be useless. After absorbing the spirit ring of the Nirvana mysterious turtle, Zhu Hen did not stay where he was. He put away the corpse of the Nirvana mysterious turtle and continued to search the vast sea for spirit beasts with a cultivation of over 100,000 years. Finally, a month later, relying on his astonishing perception and a bit of luck, he found another spirit beast over 100,000 years old, named Star River Jellyfish. This spirit beast also had another name, Star River Jellyfish Swarm. The reason for the extra word, swarm, was because it was not a single entity, but a life cluster composed of hundreds of millions of transparent jellyfish. They would separate when injured and merge when healing. After finding it, Zhu Hen spent 7 days and 7 nights to successfully kill it. Yes, this spirit hunt was much more difficult than hunting the life giant whale and the Nirvana mysterious turtle before. This was not because the Star River jellyfish was stronger. On the contrary, its combat power was very weak. Although it was also a spirit beast of over 100,000 years, it could not be compared to the previous 2 spirit beasts at all. The reason it was hard to kill was that it could continuously split and cluster to heal. To eliminate it, one had to kill all the small jellyfish that possessed self-healing abilities, which really took some effort. Fortunately, Zhu Hen had some methods. The 8th spirit ability of his Imperial Power Sword Spirit, Light Division and Shadow Transformation, could conjure sky full of sword rain, conducting indiscriminate saturation strikes over a super large range. Every sword strike carried an unhealable effect, except for healing skills from the Emerald Swan, Life Ancient Tree, and 9 Heart Begonia spirits, which could be considered to have restrained the self-healing abilities of the small jellyfish. Relying on this spirit ability, plus various other means, Zhu Hen spent 7 days and finally successfully killed this Star River jellyfish and absorbed its spirit ring. After hunting the Star River jellyfish, he continued to search on the vast sea. However, this time there was no harvest for a long time. Until one day, a white dove spirit beast brought him a letter. On the sea surface, Zhu Hen took off the letter tied to the white dove's leg. After opening and reading it, his brows furrowed slightly. He decided to temporarily stop the plan of hunting 100,000-year spirit beasts to attach full 100,000-year spirit rings to his Emerald Swan spirit, and changed his route to return to the continent. He gazed in the direction of the continent and muttered, 15 years, it is time for revenge. 2 months after this time, the image on the sky screen suddenly went black, leaving only this last line of white text. Immediately following, the image suddenly brightened again. A majestic palace appeared on the sky screen. This palace was none other than the Balak Royal Palace that had appeared before everyone's eyes when the sky screen first emerged. In reality, inside the Balak Royal Palace, King of Barak Kundra and his favored concubine Ning Pianpian, whom he was holding in his arms, saw this scene. The two instantly held their breath, their bodies trembling uncontrollably, and an emotion called fear spread in their hearts. Could it be? Just as they had thought. The royal palace was decorated with lanterns and colored streamers, and everyone's face wore an expression of joy. The royal clan and ministers of the Balak kingdom gathered together to witness the ceremony of the 6th prince, Prince Yu Tian, being invested as the crown prince. Under the presiding of a certain highly respected elder of the royal family, Prince Xu Tian, dressed in fine robes, knelt before Kundera and Ning Pianpian with a respectful expression, his eyes faintly carrying a hint of excitement. He received the crown prince's seal and the decree of investiture from the royal family handed to him by Kundera. After listening to his father's exhortations, he was about to say something in response. However, a sudden change occurred at this moment. "How lively, you don't mind an uninvited guest who was banished, do you?" A cold voice suddenly came from outside the hall. Bang! Immediately, with a bang, dozens of figures clad in armor and holding weapons flew backward into the hall. They were all court guards responsible for guarding this place. Subsequently, a man dressed in moon-white clothes, wearing a spirit tool necklace around his neck, with fair skin and delicate features, appearing to be only in his early 20s, walked into the main hall step by step, holding a long sword in his hand. Accompanying his advance, one spirit ring after another surged from the soles of his feet. Yellow's yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 red, red. Chapter 7, Adopting Zhu Hen as an Adopted Son. Titled Douluo. Looking at Zhu Hen, who broke into the main hall, terrified shouts erupted from the crowd gathered to watch the ceremony. Zhu Hen ignored these shouts and looked at the three people on the high platform in front of him, Kundera, Ning Pianpian, and Prince Xu Tian. His eyes flashed with a cold light. He raised the imperial power sword in his hand, pointed the tip at them, and said coldly, "It was hard on you to prepare the ceremony for a funeral celebration in advance." "You, who are you?" Looking at Zhu Hen below, seeing his face, the terrified Kundera wondered why he felt a sense of familiarity. However, he shouldn't know this excellency. "I am Giant Hen, my former name was Zhu Hen." "What, it's you, unfilial?" Whoosh! Before Kundera could finish speaking, Zhu Hen swung the imperial power sword and slashed out two golden rays of sword kai. One slashed towards Prince Xu Tian in front of him, and the other slashed towards Ning Pianpian beside him. Boom, boom! The next moment, the sound of two bodies exploding rang out in the main hall, and the scalding blood of the two splashed all over Kundera. He stood frozen in place, motionless, as if he had lost his soul. "Considering you raised me for over 5 years, I will not kill you today, but you should also experience the feeling of losing your loved ones." Zhu Hen looked at Kundera on the high platform and said indifferently. After speaking, he channeled his spirit power, raised his right foot, and brought it down heavily. Boom! A powerful explosive force swept through the surroundings, shaking the main hall violently. The festive decorations inside were all shattered, and even the people felt dizzy. The scene instantly descended into chaos. HMPH, scanning the panicked and terrified royal clansmen and officials, Zhu Hen let out a disdainful snort. He held his sword, turned around, and walked out of the main hall step by step. During this time, no one dared to step forward to stop him, and there wasn't even anyone who dared to scold or question him. Except that royal elder responsible for presiding over the prince's ceremony. He stared fixedly at Zhu Hen's departing back, a look of deep disbelief on his face, his body trembling as he murmured, "This spirit power, 98th level Super Douluo." In reality, in the Balak royal palace. Ning Pianpian finally regained her senses. Looking at the images on the sky screen, she covered her head in terror and screamed. That little bastard is coming back to kill us. Tiana, we will all." As she spoke, she turned to look at Kundera, who had not yet recovered, and shook him forcefully, shouting at him, "Your Majesty, you must save me and Tiana. You cannot let that bastard Zhu Hen harm us mother and son, Your Majesty." Kundera subconsciously hugged Ning Pianpian tighter and nodded. However, what could he do? Didn't he hear what the Grand Elder said on the sky screen? That unfilial son now has a spirit power level of 98. My god twin spirits 5100,000 year spirit rings, 98th level titled Douluo. This. I would believe it if someone said this unfilial son is now invincible in the world. How can I stop him? With fatherly love, what a joke. But he couldn't just ignore it. He truly loved the beauty Pianpian and the child Tiana. Thinking of this, Kundera had an idea. Beauty, even if that unfilial son has reached the 98th level of spirit power, he is only one person. 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. How about this, you take Tiana to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School now to find your cousin schoolmaster Enning. With the protection of the two excellencies, Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo, you and Tiana will surely be safe, Kundra said to Ning Pianpian. Return to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Ning Pianpian reacted and nodded quickly. Yes, once we return and have the protection of the 2 elders, no matter how strong that little bastard is, can he fight too. Furthermore, there are so many spirit master disciples in the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. If he comes, we will make sure he never returns. At that time, the spirit bones on his body will also belong to our 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Ning Pianpian had not forgotten that a 100,000-year spirit beast must drop a spirit bone. Although she hadn't seen Zhu Hen use a spirit bone skill on the sky screen, since he had absorbed a 100,000-year spirit ring, he must have a spirit bone. HMPH, our 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, will graciously accept those spirit bones. Although she and her son were not dead yet, seeing the future scene 2 months later on the sky screen, Ning Pianpian had already forged a vendetta of killing herself and her son with Zhu Hen. If this hatred is not avenged, I, Ning Pianpian, am not a human. Heaven Do Imperial Palace. Emperor Zhu Yi looked at the sky screen with admiration. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And he still remembers the upbringing, not killing his biological father. What a good child. Immediately, he put away the admiration on his face, and his expression became very pained. Why didn't I have such a good son? Why was such a good child driven out of the house by that fool Kundra? Kundra, you have ruined my Zhu clan. Zhu Beng blinked, glanced at Zhu Qinghe beside him, thinking that the deaths of his previous brothers were likely related to him. If he were allowed to sit firmly in the position of crown prince, and he ascended the throne in the future, would he have any good fruit to eat? It would be better to. Zhu Beng quickly had an idea. He showed a fawning expression on his face and stepped forward to say to Emperor Zhu Yi, "What Father Emperor says is true. We children have shallow talent and cannot compare with Prince Zhu Hen. Moreover, Prince Zhu Hen knows how to repay kindness and did not harm his biological father despite the grievances he suffered in his youth. He is truly a rare gentleman of our imperial family. I have a suggestion. Since King Kundra drove the prince out of the Balak royal family, why doesn't Father Emperor adopt him as an adopted son? In this way, the prince can directly serve the Heaven Do imperial family in the future, without having to go through a roundabout way." Hearing Zhu Beng's suggestion, the pained look on Emperor Zhu Yi's face suddenly froze. Adopting the child Zhu Hen as an adopted son, this, good suggestion. Emperor Zhu Yi's eyes lit up. He was the emperor. Adopting an excellent nephew as an adopted son had no issues in terms of etiquette. However, Emperor Zhu Yi looked back at Zhu Qinghe, whose brows were slightly furrowed, and who quickly relaxed after he looked over. He was still a bit hesitant in his heart. He really wanted a son like Zhu Hen, but an adopted son is not a biological son after all. If he adopted him, what would happen if he competed with his own biological son for the throne in the future? Thinking of this, Emperor Zhu Yi shook his head in a tangled manner. This matter still needs long-term consideration. After saying this, he continued to look at the sky screen. Since the sky screen had already shown what would happen 2 months in the future, it should also show what happens later, right? After Emperor Zhu Yi withdrew his gaze and looked at the sky screen again, Qian Rengxu, who was disguised as Zhu Qinghe behind him, looked at this cheap younger brother beside her with a smile. "Zhu Beng, very good, you even know how to find me an opponent. It seems you are not as stupid as you appear on the surface." Half a year later. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The sky screen suddenly went black, leaving only a series of ellipses, and emitted a buzzing sound. In reality, everyone looked up at this scene, all feeling strange. What happened? Why didn't it continue? We still wanted to see what happened to that Zhu Hen. Time passed bit by bit, and audiences all over the continent were tacitly waiting. About half an incense stick of time later, the picture appeared again. 6.5 years before this moment. Fasanua Province, Saint Spirit Village. Chapter 8. Indeed, what is displayed above is true. Saint Spirit Village, the Spirit Hall branch opened in this village. Though it is called a branch, it is actually just a small wooden house. A familiar face appeared in everyone's line of sight. It was none other than Master Su Yuntao, who had found Zhu Hen and brought him back to the Jisai orphanage in New Uding City. "Children, this is Master Su Yuntao from the Spirit Hall. Master will perform the awakening of your spirits for you. Grandfather hopes that some of you have the talent to become a spirit master and win glory for our Saint Spirit Village," an old man leaning on a cane said to the children behind him. "All right, old Jack, you say that every year. It is not that easy to become a spirit master. Master Su Yuntao said to old Jack. Yes, it has been so many years, and our village has not had a single child with the talent to become a spirit master. It is truly a disgrace to the spirit saint who won such infinite glory for our village back then. Hearing Master Su Yuntao's words, old Jack said dejectedly. Heaven Do Imperial Palace. What is this? I want to see what happened to that child Zhu Hen later. I want to see his future. What is this Saint Spirit village? Why has the time jumped back to 6.5 years ago? Emperor Zhu Yi said angrily. In his view, Zhu Hen was incredibly important now. After all, he was a super genius who possessed the royal bloodline and already had level 98 spirit power in his early 20s. After this scene went black, why did it seem to display other people and other events when it reappeared? There were not a few people cursing, just like Emperor Zhu Yi. In front of the Supreme Pontiff Palace, Bibi Dong's brows were tightly locked. Through the information displayed on the sky screen just now, she knew that in 2 months, that Zhu Hen would return to the Balak Kingdom and kill his biological father's favorite concubine and young son. Moreover, his spirit power had already reached level 98 at that time. If it was level 98 in 2 months, then it was highly likely that he was already level 98 now, even if he hadn't reached it. Level 97's spirit power was definitely a certainty. Dealing with such a powerhouse, it was really not easy. Behind her, Chrysanthemum Douluo did not know when he had taken his hand away from covering his mouth, pointed at the sky screen and said, "Oh my, what is going on? Why are you not showing us the affairs of that kid Zhu Hen? Why are you showing us people in a small village awakening their spirits? A blue-silver grass with innate full spirit power." Hearing Chrysanthemum Douluo's voice behind her, Bibi Dong came back to her senses and continued to look at the sky screen. At this time, the sky screen had already played to the part where Tang San pleaded with Master Su Yuntao to test his innate spirit power. After he took the crystal ball for testing, the crystal ball bloomed with a dazzling blue light. This was the symbol of level 10's spirit power. Then, just as Chrysanthemum Douluo said, the spirit this kid awakened was blue-silver grass. Can blue-silver grass also possess innate full spirit power? Bibi Dong said in disbelief. Master Su Yuntao looked at the crystal ball in Tang San's hand, showed a look of regret, took it back and said to him, "It is a pity. Your spirit is only blue-silver grass. Even if it were just a sickle, it could have some combat effectiveness after attaching the first spirit ring. Blue-silver grass, I really cannot imagine what use it could have." Saying this, he led these children out of the spirit hall branch, returned them to old Jack who was waiting outside, and told him about the situation of this awakening. During this process, the name of the child who awakened the blue-silver grass spirit, and innate full spirit power, was also spoken from old Jack's mouth. Tang San. Balak Kingdom, inside a hotel in Soto City. A man dressed in moon-white clothes, appearing to be in his early 20s, was standing by the window, looking up at the scene on the sky screen outside. Watching the information about Tang San being gradually exposed to everyone. He showed Tang how that he actually awakened twin spirits, and the scene of revealing that small hammer all appeared one after another. Looking at these scenes, the man shook his head and thought to himself, "Sorry, fake things need to be mixed with some real things, so that it can be better to gain people's trust. Besides, I also need you to share some attention for me, so that I can develop calmly." Immediately, the man waved his hand, and a window that only he could see appeared in front of him. Fictional sky screen, fake to real system. Fabricating false personas, experiences, abilities. The more people who believe, the more characters who have important roles in the original work believe, and generate shock, yearning, fear, and longing for this information, then these fictional pieces of information will eventually turn into reality. Current semi-fictional character, Super Douluo Zhu Hen, 83%. Can be fusion. Has it already reached an 83% reality rate? Not bad, the progress is fast. Fusion. Zhu Hen gave the instruction in his heart. Tilde as the words fell, a mysterious light shot out from the window and shot into his body. Suddenly, he felt his spirit power rising rapidly. Not only that, he also clearly felt that he had an extra spirit, and even the spirit ring of the Emerald Swan spirit he originally possessed was changing. What kind of change? It disappeared. Yes, unlike the information displayed on the sky screen, Zhu Hen had awakened the Emerald Swan spirit back then, but it was not twin spirits, so he had been attaching spirit rings to the Emerald Swan all these years, which were yellow, yellow, purple, black, black, black. When he awakened the system a few days ago, his spirit power was only level 61, just a spirit emperor. There was no way, the support system was too difficult to cultivate. He was planning to set off for Heaven Do City at that time to find Douluo Dalu and try to use Immortal Herb to improve himself, but he did not expect that the system would come just as he was about to set off, so he changed his plan and decided to use the system to improve himself first. Now it seems that the effect is excellent. Before long, the light was completely shot into Zhu Hen's body, and the window in front of him also displayed his current real information. Name Zhu Hen. Age 20. Spirit Imperial Power Sword / Emerald Swan. Spirit Power Level 91. Imperial Power Sword Spirit Ring Configuration. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 red, red. Emerald Swan Spirit Ring Configuration. None. Domain, Life Domain. Spirit Bone, none. No Spirit Bone, and the 300,000 year Spirit Rings of the Emerald Swan are also gone, and the Spirit Power is only level 91. Sure enough, only when the progress reaches 100% can one have the same data as on the sky screen. Zhu Hen took a deep breath, feeling the surging spirit power in his body, looking at the information displayed on the window in front of him, and muttered. After the words fell, the page on the window changed, and the reality rate changed slightly. 83% right arrow, 85%. Another ray of light shot out from it, and Zhu Hen felt that his spirit power had improved again, from level 91 to level 92. Shrek Academy. So Little Sun also possesses twin spirits, and his spirit is actually the legendary #1 tool spirit in the world, Clear Sky Hammer. Oscar widened his eyes and exclaimed. Is Little Sun actually a person from the Clear Sky sect? Dai Mubai muttered. Third brother is a person from the Clear Sky sect. Ning Rongrong lowered her head, not knowing what she was thinking in her heart. On the academy's playground. Yu Zirogang's brows were tightly locked. Hearing the inquiries from Flenda and Zhao Wuji beside him, he nodded helplessly and admitted, indeed, what is displayed above is true. Little San is indeed a peerless genius who possesses twin spirits and innate full spirit power, just like Zhu Hen. Semi-fictional character, Super Douluo Zhu Hen. Reality rate, 85% right arrow 88%. Super Space Storage Spirit Tool Necklace can be materialized. 100,000 year Spirit Beast Life Giant Whale Corpse, containing Spirit Bone, can be materialized. Chapter 9, The Terrifying Nature of the Fictional Sky Screen and the Maketrial System. Inside a hotel in Soto City. Zhu Hen had left the window at some point and was sitting cross-legged on the bed. He kept his eyes closed, continuously familiarizing himself with the surging spirit power within his body. Level 93. His spirit power had now risen to level 93, and around his neck appeared the spirit tool storage necklace that had previously been shown on the sky screen, inside of which was hidden the corpse of the 100,000-year-old spirit beast, the life giant whale, along with its spirit bone, which lay quietly within. Although it hadn't been shown on the sky screen, according to his settings, the life giant whale would yield a life purification skull. This skull bone could grant a Spirit Master 2 spirit abilities, Purification of All Things and Return of All Things to the Whale. Among them, Purification of All Things is a 100,000-year purification ability. Its effect is to erupt an emerald purification wave, centered on oneself, covering a radius of 1 kilometer. All allies within the area have all negative statuses cleared and gain the absolute purification status for 30 seconds, immune to all negative effects. At the same time, 50% of the beneficial statuses on all enemies are filtered away, prioritizing defensive and revival types. Additionally, all undead, evil spirit, and curse-type spirit masters take true damage equal to 50% of their maximum health. As for Return of All Things to the Whale, it is a 100,000-year profound truth ability. Its effect is to manifest a phantom of the life giant whale, open its heaven-swallowing maw, and suck all living beings, including friend and foe, within a 300-meter radius into its belly. Inside the whale's belly, enemies take digestive damage, ignoring defense, equal to 20% of their maximum health per second, while allies recover 20% of their maximum health per second. After 10 seconds, the giant whale dissipates, spitting out all survivors and the corpses of the deceased. Living beings that die within the whale's belly will leave behind a life essence, which can be absorbed directly. Time passed bit by bit. Zhu Hen gradually became familiar with and mastered the surging spirit power within his body. This power felt as if he had cultivated it himself, only that he hadn't used it for a very long time. On the other side, in the forest at Shrek Academy, Tang San's expression became increasingly ugly. Exposed. Almost all of his secrets had been exposed. Twin spirits. Knowing Tang's sect techniques, knowing how to craft hidden weapons, and knowing how to use poison. Except for the fact that he had transmigrated to this continent from another world. All his other secrets had been exposed by those damn images. Now, he would likely be targeted by countless people, and it would be difficult to have a peaceful life on the continent in the future. Damn it, thinking this, Tang San clenched his hands and gritted his teeth. If only he knew who had created these images, otherwise, this person would definitely have a path to death. After a while longer, the images on the sky screen finally stopped. It jumped to showing Tang San graduating from the Niuding City Elementary Spirit Master Academy, and did not reveal the matter of him and Zyro, Wu deciding to go to Shrek Academy, which made Tang San breathe a slight sigh of relief amidst his anger. In front of the Supreme Pontiff Palace. Blue-silver grass, clear sky hammer, there can be no mistake. This Tang San is the half-breed born to Tang Hao and that 100,000-year-old spirit beast back then. I never expected that he would actually worship. Bibai Dong did not finish the rest of her sentence. She truly hadn't expected that the half-breed would actually take Zyrogang as his master, and that Zyrogang would even view him as his prized disciple, who could prove his own theories. Go investigate and see if Niuding City ever reported a spirit master with innate full spirit power who awakened a blue-silver grass spirit by the name of Tang San. Bibai Dong instructed a deacon who was following her out of the main hall. Yes, Your Eminence, Supreme Pontiff. Soon the deacon returned. He reported to Bibai Dong, reporting to Your Eminence, more than 6 years ago, Master Su Yuntao of Niuding City did indeed report a child who awakened a blue-silver grass spirit and possessed innate full spirit power. Moreover, this child successfully obtained his first spirit ring 6 years ago, became a spirit master, and completed his spirit master registration in Niuding City. Bibai Dong nodded and said, "It seems that what is shown in these images is all real. In that case, the matter regarding that Zhu Hen is also true." The terrifying nature of the fictional sky screen and the Maketrial system lies not only in its ability to turn fictional information into reality, but also in its ability to distort things in reality, including memories. As the authenticity rate of the identity, Super Douluo Zhu Hen, continuously increased, the memories of many people in reality were quietly modified. Many people began to remember Zhu Hen and were shocked to realize they had seen him before, especially those who enjoyed participating in spirit fights and watching spirit fight competitions. They had seen Zhu Hen activate his Imperial Power Sword Spirit in the spirit fight arena and had seen him easily defeat his opponents. Even in distant coastal cities, some people had seen Zhu Hen sailing out to sea on a small boat. In the future, if Bibai Dong sends people to investigate, these details that have influenced reality due to the increase in the authenticity rate will further increase the credibility of the information on the sky screen. Once the credibility increases, the authenticity rate will also increase again, eventually reaching 100%. At that time, Zhu Hen will also become a Super Douluo, just like in the sky screen. Heaven Du Imperial Palace. Emperor Zhu Yi was still craning his neck to look at the firmament. He was not interested in that so-called Tang San. Twin spirits, innate full spirit power, Tang sect techniques, in his view, none of these things were as important as Zhu Hen. After all, that child Zhu Hen was a Super Douluo who possessed twin spirits. A super powerhouse versus a genius with the potential to become a powerhouse, he could still distinguish which was more important. Not to mention that the blood of his Zhu clan flowed through Zhu Hen's veins. Why did those images suddenly disappear for no reason, and then change to talking about that Tang San? Emperor Zhu Yi struck his scepter and sighed. Behind him, Cayenne Renxu also looked at the sky that had returned to normal. After thinking for a moment, she comforted Emperor Zhu Yi. Imperial Father, those images just now must have been a divine miracle, pointing out to us what geniuses exist in the world. Since it was stated above that in 2 months, royal brother Zhu Hen will return to the Balak kingdom, why don't we send people to wait there now, and once he appears, invite him to the imperial capital to see you. As for that Tang San, he is also a genius. We can send people to find his whereabouts and then invite him to serve the imperial family. When mentioning Tang San, a flash of killing intent crossed the depths of Qian Rengsu's eyes. Like Bibai Dong, she also recognized Tang San's identity and knew that he was the son of her father's killer, and his talent was so good. Since that was the case, she absolutely could not let him go. What you say makes sense. Who should we send to invite that child Zhu Hen? Emperor Zhu Yi's spirits lifted, and he muttered, Imperial Father, this child. Imperial Father, let this child handle both of these matters. Just as Zhu Beng was about to speak, Qian Rengsu directly interrupted him and volunteered. Good, King, the matter of inviting that child Zhu Hen to Heaven Du City is left to you. As for that Tang San, do your best to find him. If you really can't find him, that's fine too. Emperor Zhu Yi believed he was still very wise. The matter of the two geniuses, Zhu Hen and Tang San, was already known to everyone. It would be quite good if their Heaven Du imperial family could pull even one of them over. It would be very difficult to recruit both, so he did not make things difficult for his Izon. Yes, Imperial Father. Qian Rengsu clasped her hands towards Zhu Yi and replied. Chapter 10, Waiting for the Rabbit and Forest Combat Training. Above the firmament, after the images concerning Tang San ceased, a vast, seemingly emotionless voice emanated from within. I am the sky's screen, passing through the past, knowing the future. Today, I reveal the potential of Zhu Hen and Tang San. In the days to come, I shall reveal others and other matters. Since the future is known, the future can be changed. Everything is in your hands. As the words fell, a humming sound followed, the firmament turned black once more, and then the sky gradually returned to its original clear, sunny state. The sky screen vanished, and everything in the world seemed to return to its original state, with nothing changed, except the images of Zhu Hen and Tang San that had appeared earlier were firmly imprinted in the minds of the people of the world. Shrek Academy. Dai Mubai, Ning Rongrong, and the others all ran over to find Tang San and surrounded him. Little San, I really can't believe it. You are actually the son of the legendary Clear Sky Douluo. Although there were very few images of Tang San's father on the sky screen earlier, Dai Mubai had not forgotten how that village chief named Old Jack addressed Tang San's father, Tang Hao. The father's name was Tang Hao, and the son possessed the Clear Sky Hammer spirit. Thus, who that Tang Hao was already very obvious. Clear Sky Douluo Tang Hao. At this moment, Dai Mubai felt incredibly thrilled. His good brother's father was a super powerhouse who dared to even strike the Supreme Pontiff. Since he was good brothers with his son, if he needed help in the future, would he not help? Of course not. With Clear Sky Douluo as his backing, what did he, Dai Mubai, have to fear from Dai Weisi? Wasn't it just fratricide? Bring it on, whoever is afraid is a coward. Third brother, I am a disciple of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, and you are a disciple of the Clear Sky sect. Both of our sects are among the upper 3 sects. My father said that the upper 3 sects are of the same breadth and branch, and now we are like siblings. This is truly fate, Ning Rongrong also said to Tang San with a smile. Little San, I won't say anything else, but in the future, ask your dad to look after me, no problem, right? Oscar said to him, draping his arm around Tang San's shoulder. Tang San, who had originally felt incredibly angry about the sky screen exposing him, was instantly stunned upon hearing the words of his companions around him. My dad? What's wrong with my dad? He is just an ordinary blacksmith. How did he become some Clear Sky Douluo? Everyone else who had seen the previous images on the sky screen knew Tang Hao's true identity, yet Tang San, as his son, still did not know at this moment. Whoosh! At this moment, a black figure jumped down from a tree nearby and shouted, Little San. Hearing this familiar call, Tang San immediately turned to look. Just at that moment, the rugged man wearing a black cloak also lifted his hood, revealing his face. Dad, seeing Tang Hao, Tang San immediately became excited, broke free from Oscar's arm and ran towards him. Dai Mubai and the others, who had been left behind, looked at each other for a while, then all wore smiles that were either fawning or friendly and walked towards the father and son. Only, Zyro Wu remained where she was, shivering. She had already learned from Dai Mubai and Ning Rongrong that little San's father was a titled Douluo-level spirit master. Such a powerhouse could see through her true form, so what should she do now? Should she play dumb, refuse to admit she was a spirit beast, or run away? But even if she ran away now, it would likely be too late. After all, how could she possibly outrun a titled Douluo? Fortunately, the thing she was worried about did not happen. Tang Hao did not point out in public that she was a spirit beast, nor did he capture her, and he didn't even spare her an extra glance. Futilda, although she didn't know why, Zyro Wu still patted her chest in relief and let out a heavy sigh. Days passed and a month went by. Many factions had sent spirit masters to guard around the Balak royal palace, waiting for the appearance of Zhu Hen. Although the sky screen showed that it would take another month for Zhu Hen to arrive here, the sky screen also said that since the future is known, the future can be changed. What if he came early? They wouldn't be wrong to guard here in advance. Among these factions, some wanted to recruit the unaligned titled Douluo Zhu Hen or befriend him, while others wanted to observe up close just how strong his combat power was, so they could make a judgment on how to eliminate him. Yes, that refers precisely to Spirit Hall and the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Zhu Hen carried the Zhu clan bloodline, and although he had already been expelled from the Balak royal family by Kundera, this bloodline could not be changed. In Bibai Dong's view, if she were to make a move against the Heaven Du Empire in the future, Zhu Hen would definitely stand up to help the Heaven Du Empire and resist her, so she had to find a way to eliminate him as soon as possible. As for the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, Ning Fengzhai had initially wanted to recruit this genius, Zhu Hen, but after seeing on the sky screen that Zhu Hen had already become a titled Douluo, he immediately changed his mind. With the wealth of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School and his own abilities, even though there was a grudge between the two sides, he still had some confidence in recruiting a young spirit saint, but a titled Douluo. He had absolutely no confidence. He really hated his cheap cousin to death in his heart. How could she have brought such a big trouble upon him? He was afraid that because of what Ning Pianpian had done, Zhu Hen would hold a grudge against the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, and even take retaliatory actions against the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Although on the sky screen that Zhu Hen was considered clear about grievances and did not kill his biological father, Kundera, the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School had no kindness towards him. What if he vented his anger on them? Therefore Ning Fengzhai decided to take action in advance, sending people over to observe first. If there was a chance, he would eliminate him. If not, he could learn more about his strength and spirit abilities. As for whom to send, he sent himself and Sword Douluo Chenzin to come together. On the side of Spirit Hall, those who came were Ghost Douluo Gui Mei and Chrysanthemum Douluo Yu Guan. Star Du Great Forest. Zhu Hen, whom many were waiting for like waiting for a rabbit by a tree, had already left New Uding City, but he did not head to the Kingdom of Barak. Instead, he came here to further familiarize himself with his surging spirit power and the additional spirit abilities he had acquired through actual combat. Boom! As he swung the Imperial Power Sword in his hand, in an instant, thousands of sword kai were slashed out by him, flying towards the 360-degree area around him with him as the center. Instantly, more than 10 huge figures were sent flying backward with a crash. Bangs, 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 bang. They were all spirit beasts with over 10,000 years of cultivation. Under the impact of this majestic sword kai, they were washed away one by one like trash, crashing into and snapping numerous large trees in half, and finally falling to the ground. The entire process left them with no power to resist. Imperial Power Sword Spirit, 4th Spirit Ability, Exorcise Demons. The effect releases a large-range, blind spot-free sword kai, dealing double damage to evil soul masters, spirit beasts and targets with evil intentions, and has a chance to dispel the buff states on them. This was also because Zhu Hen consciously controlled the strength of his attack. Otherwise, these dozen or so 10,000-year spirit beasts would have already turned into blood mist and lost their lives. Zhu Hen raised his arm, and the Imperial Power Sword in his hand dissipated into specks of golden light. Immediately after, a phantom of an emerald-green swan appeared behind him. It was the Emerald Swan Spirit. At the same time, red, 3100,000-year spirit rings also emerged from beneath his feet. Yes, after a month of fermentation, the authenticity rate of the character Super Douluo Zhu Hen had already reached 95%. At this time, Zhu Hen possessed level 97 spirit power, twin spirits, 12 spirit rings, 1 spirit bone, and 1 domain. Compared to himself on the sky screen, he was now only short of 1 level of spirit power and a few spirit bones, or rather, the corpses of a few 100,000-year spirit beasts. After activating the Emerald Swan Spirit, the first spirit ring at Zhu Hen's feet bloomed with dazzling red light. The first spirit ability, Emerald Recovery, was activated. The majestic spirit power within Zhu Hen condensed into emerald green light spots, falling like spring rain onto those injured spirit beasts. Instantly, their injuries were rapidly healed. After fighting, he would heal. After cultivating the first spirit, he would cultivate the second spirit. Neither was neglected. By the way, this Emerald Recovery was originally a single target healing spirit ability, which poured into a single target's body in the form of spring water. However, in actual application, Zhu Hen discovered that it could be changed into the form of rain, allowing the healing effect to act on multiple targets. Of course, the healing effect would be reduced this way, as the healing meant for one target was spread across multiple targets. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. Chapter 11: Arrival at the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Under the healing of Zhu Hen's Emerald Recovery Spirit ability, the injuries of these 10,000-year spirit beasts recovered significantly in a short time. They stood up from the ground one after another, licking the blood on their bodies, looking at the human not far away with a hint of confusion. This human attacked them, then healed them. What on earth did he want to do? Zhu Hen was also watching them at this moment. Seeing that their injuries had recovered a lot, he nodded with satisfaction. Even though the healing effect was dispersed into multiple parts, it could still treat the wounded to this extent. It truly deserves to be a 100,000-year spirit ability. Immediately, he turned around, ignoring these sparring partners for the day, leaped, and turned into a phantom as he left the place. Seeing Zhu Hen leave, these 10,000-year spirit beasts were stunned. They looked at each other, and then, one by one, they all charged forward, looking up to the sky and letting out angry roars filled with battle intent. Human, don't run. It was our carelessness just now. If you have the guts, come back and fight us for another 300 rounds. Roar! The angry beast roars echoed throughout the area of several kilometers. Zhu Hen tapped his toes on the branches of different big trees, his body teleporting like a phantom, leaving only trails of afterimages behind. Hearing the roars coming from behind, his expression remained unchanged. He had been hearing these roars for many days now. He was used to them, and they were all much the same. Now, he had completely familiarized himself with the level 97 spirit power in his body, and the 12 newly added spirit abilities had also been mastered to a considerable degree. He could go and do some things that fit his persona. For example, settling old scores. Enning Pian Pian, I am coming. 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Elder Bone, the child Tiana is deeply loved by the king. 2 months ago, the king already submitted a petition requesting His Majesty the Emperor to confer upon him the title of Crown Prince. You also saw the scene on the sky screen where he was conferred the title. As long as we find a way to get rid of Zhu Hen, Tiana's position as Crown Prince and even his future position as king will be as solid as a rock. Having a child with the bloodline of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School become the king of the kingdom of Barak, what a huge boost that would be for the sect. Ning Pianpian, who had brought her son to hide in the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, said to Bone Douluo, who was sitting in the seat next to the main seat. This was not the first time Ning Pianpian had said such things. In fact, she had returned to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School more than half a month ago, and in these past half a month, she had run to Gu Rong every day to say similar things. Her intention was very obvious. She hoped that the sect could take action to help her get rid of the thorn in her side, Zhu Hen, so that she and her son could live comfortably in the future. Gu Rong's ears were almost calloused from hearing these words. How could he not know that getting rid of Zhu Hen would be beneficial and harmless to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School? He was even the first one to advise Ning Fengzhai to send disciples to find Zhu Hen and eliminate him. However, the situation was different now. Who could have imagined that the brat was such a prodigy? The sky screen said that not only did he possess twin spirits, but he also had a breakthrough to titled Douluo at the age of just over 20. And he wasn't just an ordinary titled Douluo, he was a level 97 or even level 98 titled Douluo. If that was true, how could they kill him? Gu Rong rubbed his temples with some annoyance. then waved his hand, signaling Ning Pianpian to leave, saying he would think about what to do again and again. However, boom, suddenly, a powerful pressure surged toward this place from the outside. This aura, so strong. Could it be? Gu Rong's expression changed, and he subconsciously looked at Ning Pianpian below. Sure enough, at this moment, a cold voice came from outside the sect. Giant Hen has come uninvited. I hope Schoolmaster Ning will forgive me. Giant Hen. Hearing this name, Gu Rong's heart sank. It really was him, Zhu Hen. He didn't go to the Balak Royal Palace as the sky screen said, but came to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School instead. How did he know that Ning Pianpian had fled here with her son? Elder Bone, below the steps, Ning Pianpian's heart trembled violently when she heard this name. She hurriedly turned her head to look at Gu Rong above, hoping he could protect her and her son. Damn it, Fengzhai and that old giant Ren have both gone to the Balak Royal Palace. Gu Rong clenched his right hand into a fist and thought to himself. Afterward he stood up, waved his large hand and said to Ning Pianpian, "You go hide in the back, I will go. I will take people to meet him." Okay, thank you, Elder Bone. Elder Bone, you must find a way to kill that bastard. Ning Pianpian nodded repeatedly to thank him, then hid behind the hall. HMPH, after she quickly fled, Gu Rong snorted coldly. With his hands behind his back, he activated his bone dragon spirit. 9 spirit rings, yellow, purple, black, red, appeared at his feet. A very powerful aura also erupted from his body, pressing towards the outside of the sect, colliding with the opponent's aura. Unfortunately, the aura Gu Rong erupted was quickly suppressed by the opponent's stronger aura, which made his expression extremely ugly. This brat, his aura can actually suppress mine. Gu Rong took a deep breath, then strode out of the hall, and then leaped towards the boundary of the sect, shouting at the same time, 12 deacons, follow me to meet the enemy. Yes, 12 shouts came from somewhere within the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. As the words fell, 12 7-colored lights flashed. 12 spirit emperors possessing the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda Spirit, under the protection of several attack system spirit saints or spirit emperors, followed Gu Rong to the boundary of the sect, which was in front of the 7 Treasure Mountain Gate. At this moment, directly in front of the 7 Treasure Mountain Gate, a man dressed in moon-white clothes, with a spirit tool necklace hanging around his neck, looking very young with a cold expression, was standing there. Gathered in front of him were many disciples guarding the mountain of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. These disciples looked at the man in front of them with full alertness. Beads of sweat appeared on their foreheads, and some were even trembling uncontrollably. There was no other way. The person appearing in front of them was a super Douluo with twin spirits. Ang Tilda, a dragon roar sounded. A huge bone dragon phantom descended from the sky. Gu Rong, who had completed the spirit incarnation, landed his feet on the ground in front of these guarding disciples, making them all heave a heavy sigh of relief. Junior, why have you come here? Gu Rong knew that the other party had come with bad intentions, so he didn't be polite to Zhu Hen and directly asked coldly. After he said these words, those 12 spirit emperors who had activated their 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda spirits also arrived here under the protection of many battle spirit saints and battle spirit emperors. They were all ready to go. As long as the battle started, they would immediately boost Gu Rong. Zhu Hen held the Imperial Power Sword in his hand, and 9 spirit rings, yellow, purple, black, red, flashed at his feet. Hearing Gu Rong's questioning, he looked at him indifferently, then glanced at the disciples behind him, especially the 12 spirit emperors who had activated their 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda spirits, and finally returned his gaze to Gu Rong. Bone Dragon Spirit, Your Excellency must be the legendary #1 defense Douluo in the world. Bone Douluo, right? May I ask where Schoolmaster Ning is? Zhu Hen asked. What business do you have with our sect master? Ask him to hand over his cousin, Ning Pianpian, Zhu Hen said indifferently. Arrogant, Gu Rong shouted loudly. As the words fell, he raised his right foot and landed it heavily on the ground. The 4th spirit ring at his feet bloomed with dazzling purple light. 4th spirit ability, Bone Prison, activate. This Zhu Hen was truly too young. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say he was of his grandson's generation. Such a young junior, even if the sky screen said he was a super Douluo, even if he fell into a disadvantage in the aura confrontation just now, even if he already revealed those 9 spirit rings, yellow, purple, black, red, at his feet. Without fighting him personally, he still couldn't believe that he had such high spirit power. After all, a super Douluo in his early 20s. Are you kidding? Chapter 12, Invincible Stance, Defeating Bone Douluo. As Gu Rong unleashed his spirit ability, a large number of thick bones were summoned from the ground, forming a prison-like domain that trapped Zhu Hen within. Offending a young super Douluo for a cousin with whom Ning Fengzhai had little emotional connection was actually not worth it. However, neither Gu Rong nor Ning Fengzhai had a choice, because the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School was a family-based power. Ening Pian was a member of the Ning family. If she was being hunted, and the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School did not step forward to protect her, wouldn't the hearts of the sect's members be scattered in the future? They would all think, if the sect is willing to abandon Ning Pian today just to avoid offending a super Douluo, will they abandon me tomorrow because of some other matter? If the sect master is willing to abandon me, can I not also abandon the sect master? In the end, with everyone abandoning each other and no longer united, how could the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School continue to stand on the continent? Furthermore, just because the sky screen said this Zhu Hen was a super Douluo, did that make him one? What if he wasn't? If the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School handed someone over out of fear, only to find out later that this Zhu Hen was just a spirit king or spirit emperor who had mastered some kind of simulation-type spirit ability, wouldn't they have humiliated themselves greatly? Therefore, they absolutely could not voluntarily hand over Ning Pian. As for whether this Zhu Hen was a mule or a horse, they would know once they tested him personally. Inside the bone prison, Zhu Hen looked at the bones trapping him on all sides and nodded, his expression unchanged. A 1000-year 4th spirit ability actually has a hint of a domain feel. Bone Douluo, you are quite good. As he spoke, he raised the Imperial Power Sword in his hand, pointing the tip at him. But if you choose to stand on the opposite side of me for that wicked woman, then I can only view you as an enemy and bestow upon you my sword edge. Boom! After speaking, Zhu Hen's eyes became sharp. He swung the Imperial Power Sword, and instantly a sharp golden sword kai was unleashed, striking directly at the bones in front. In just a single moment, these hard bones created by Gu Rong's 4th spirit ability were shattered with a blast, and a gap was torn open in the bone prison. Zhu Hen looked at the gap, raised an eyebrow with slight disdain, and then used teleportation. Swoosh! He passed through it like a ghost and moved forward. Gu Rong's pupils contracted violently. He could break through his own spirit ability. This kid wasn't just for show. He immediately shouted, "Amplify me." As he spoke, the 5th spirit ring at his feet also bloomed with pitch-black light. 5th spirit ability, Bone Tornado. Gu Rong unleashed his 5th spirit ability, summoning a massive tornado composed of dense bones to attack Zhu Hen, who was heading straight toward him. This move could generate powerful suction and sustained high damage against enemies. It was one of his signature moves. Yes, Elder, behind him, the 12-7 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda Spirit. Emperors, who were protected by numerous spirit saints and spirit emperors, shouted in unison. Then, the spirit rings at their feet bloomed with dazzling light simultaneously, and they unleashed their spirit abilities to amplify Gu Rong. The spirit abilities they released included Strength Amplification, Speed Amplification, Defense Amplification, and Spirit Power Amplification. Under the various amplifications from these 12-7 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda Spirit Emperors, the aura radiating from Gu Rong, who originally only had level 95 spirit power, suddenly shot up a level. At least on the surface, it did not seem much weaker than the Zhu Hen opposite him. Futile resistance. Looking at the incoming bone tornado and feeling the increased aura on Gu Rong, Zhu Hen's expression remained unchanged. His speed did not slow, and he said it extremely casually. As he spoke, the 3rd spirit ring at his feet bloomed with a purple light. 3rd spirit ability, Human Emperor Body Protection. A golden light of humanity radiated from the long sword in his hand, and powerful sword kai surrounded his body, automatically blocking the damage from the bone tornado for him. Not only that, this powerful sword kai defense seemed to have a rebounding effect, actually reflecting many of the bones and the force of the hurricane within the bone tornado back toward Gu Rong and the others outside the tornado. Gu Rong's pupils suddenly constricted. How is this possible? Not only did he block my 5th spirit ability with his 3rd, but he could also reflect a portion of my spirit ability's power back. There was no time to think more. Gu Rong let out a shout, his 3rd spirit ring flashed, and he immediately used his own 3rd spirit ability, White Bone Shield. A defensive shield made of thick bones appeared in front of him. This shield could effectively block various physical and spirit ability attacks, and was a core defensive skill for protecting himself and his teammates. What Zhu Hen reflected was only a portion of the power of his fifth spirit ability, which he could completely block with his third spirit ability. Not to mention that when he unleashed his fifth spirit ability, he hadn't been amplified, but now he had been. Gu Rong was fully confident in blocking that reflected attack. However, sixth spirit ability, sword settles mountains and rivers. While Gu Rong was summoning the white bone shield, under the protection of his third spirit ability, human emperor body protection, Zhu Hen had also emerged unscathed from the massive tornado composed of dense bones. With a wave of his arm, he threw the imperial power sword in his hand. Target, Gu Rong. The next second, the imperial power sword, accompanied by the reflected bones and hurricane force, struck directly at the shield in front of Gu Rong. With the point of impact as the center, a large-scale air tremor and sword kai erupted instantly. Rumble! A deafening explosion sounded in front of the 7 Treasure Mountain gate. Under the impact of the powerful destructive force of Zhu Hen's strike, the white bone shield that Gu Rong had created with spirit power turned to ashes in the blink of an eye. Not only that, the remaining destructive force after shattering the white bone shield continued forward, knocking Gu Rong and the numerous 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School disciples behind him flying in a crushing manner. As the person standing at the very front, meeting Zhu Hen's strike head-on, despite being in the spirit avatar state, and despite being hailed as the world's #1 defensive Douluo, Gu Rong was still beaten into spitting blood while flying backward. He was like a kite with a broken string, crashing hard onto the ground along with the disciples behind him. How could he really be this strong? After crashing onto the ground, Gu Rong gasped for air, looking at the young figure standing still after unleashing his sixth spirit ability. His old eyes were filled with disbelief, even tinged with a trace of fear. Then his throat moved, and he spat out another mouthful of old blood. Although he had seen Zhu Hen use this move on the sky screen as early as a month ago, and at that time, he had used only this move to kill the 100,000-year spirit beast life giant whale, Gu Rong still found it hard to accept. After all, he was the strongest defensive Douluo. How could his defensive power be compared to a spirit beast like the life giant whale? Well, the life giant whale died immediately after taking this move, whereas he was still alive. However, I had been amplified by 12 spirit emperors, possessing the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda. And although I am still alive now, I no longer have much combat power left. This guy is actually this strong, a genuine super Douluo, but he is clearly only in his early 20s. How on earth did he cultivate? Bone Douluo, you have lost. Hand over Ning Pianpian and Prince Xu Tian, or don't blame me for starting a massacre here. At this moment, Zhu Hen raised the imperial power sword in his hand again, pointing the tip toward the direction of Gu Rong, and said to him coldly. Gulp Tilda faced with this situation. Even though Gu Rong had seen all kinds of great storms and waves in his life, he couldn't help but swallow his saliva. He had seen many great storms and waves, but he really hadn't seen such life-threatening ones many times. Chapter 13, Deceiving a Young Man in His Early 20s. Thump, thump, thump. At this moment, the sound of rapid running came from the mountain gate. Thousands of 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School disciples, led by over a dozen elders and deacons, had completed their assembly and arrived to provide reinforcements. Elder Bone, upon arriving, they were met with such a tragic sight. Numerous disciples lay on the ground, covered in blood and unconscious, many no longer even breathing. Bone Douluo Gu Rong, the pillar of their 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, was also sprawled on the ground in a pitiful state. This scene stunned the arriving reinforcements. After a moment of shock, 2 elders of different surnames snapped back to reality and hurriedly rushed over to help him up from the ground. Elder Bone, what should we do now? After helping Gu Rong up, they asked him. Zhu Hen lifted his chin, looking at the thousands of 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School disciples who had been gathered. He frowned slightly and spoke. Bone Douluo, do you intend to rely on your numbers and swarm me? If so, then come. As he spoke, Zhu Hen turned his arm, holding the imperial power sword horizontally in front of him. A beam of golden sword kai shot straight into the sky. Gu Rong, having stood up, looked up at the golden beam of light shooting into the sky. His heart sank. He looked back at the thousands of disciples behind him, but the pressure in his heart did not lessen. Both sides actually didn't have any deep enmity, it was just about Ning Pianpian. To maintain the unity of the sect, he had to stand out and protect Ning Pianpian. But protection was one thing, and the extent to which he protected her was another matter entirely. This Zhu Hen was too strong. After the previous exchange, he had confirmed that he was a genuine super Douluo, and his spirit power should be infinitely close to level 98. Facing such an existence, if he led the thousands of disciples behind him to swarm him and fight to the death, there was no doubt they would win, but things wouldn't be that simple. After killing many of their disciples, this brat Zhu Hen could easily retreat, and his group wouldn't be able to stop him. As long as he wasn't an idiot, he wouldn't be determined to stay here and fight to the death with them without retreating. If he didn't retreat, he would remain in an invincible position. After he left, the next time he came, more disciples would die on their side. This cycle would repeat, and the 7 treasure glazed tile school could not withstand it. In the end, it was because Fengzhai and the old swordman weren't here. If they were, leaving this brat behind wouldn't be a problem. Probably, maybe. Thinking of this, Gu Rong sighed helplessly in his heart. Elder, seeing that Gu Rong didn't answer his question and didn't state his position regarding the enemy's question, one of the 2 elders of different surnames who was supporting him looked at him and asked again, "What should they do now? Fight or make peace?" "Brat, if I say the person you want is not in the 7 treasure glazed tile school, do you believe me?" Gu Rong didn't respond to the elder. After sighing, he looked at Zhu Hen, who was holding his sword horizontally in front of him, and said to him, "I don't believe you," Zhu Hen said indifferently. "They really aren't here." Gu Rong put on a helpless expression and said, looking very honest. "They really aren't here," seeing this old man's appearance. Zhu Hen felt a bit suspicious. Are they really not here? That shouldn't be right. The sky screen said he would go to the Balak royal palace for revenge in a month and kill her son on the spot. Would that woman dare to stay there after seeing that? If she wanted to escape, where else could she go besides the 7 treasure glazed tile school? He's lying to me. This old man is lying to me. Bone Douluo, for a dignified titled Douluo to deceive a young man in his early 20s, that is a very tasteless thing to do. Thinking this, Zhu Hen said to Gu Rong, his tone carrying a hint of mockery. However, facing Zhu Hen's mockery, Gu Rong did not get angry. He even pushed away the 2 elders supporting him, spread his hands and said quite frankly, "Such a tasteless thing an old man like me, a dignified titled Douluo, would naturally not do. But the fact is they are not here. As the saying goes, a married daughter is like spilled water. If that's the case for a daughter, let alone a cousin. Since Ning Pianpian has already married into the Balak royal family, she is a member of the royal family. Her affairs have nothing to do with our 7 treasure glazed tile school." Zhu Hen was silent. He had a feeling that Gu Rong was lying. As a transmigrator who had read the original novel, he had a certain understanding of this old man's character. Shameless, he was definitely a shameless powerhouse. Telling lies with his eyes open was something he could do. However, it didn't matter. He had come here today to settle scores with Ning Pianpian, but settling scores was just a pretext. His real purpose was not to capture that woman, but to make himself appear before the world and let the world personally experience his strength. This point had already been achieved. As for Gu Rong's blatant lying, HMPH, he would just pretend to believe him. The next time he came, he could just use this as an excuse to change from settling scores with Ning Pianpian to settling scores with the 7 treasure glazed tile school, then create an even bigger commotion to further increase the authenticity rate of the character, Super Douluo Zhu Hen. Thinking this, Zhu Hen looked up and down at the sincere-looking Gu Rong a few times, then slowly lowered the arm holding the imperial power sword and said to him, "Fine, since Bone Douluo has put it this way, I will believe you for now. But if I find out you are lying to me, then you, and even the entire 7 treasure glazed tile school, will pay a heavy price." Whoosh! As the words fell, Zhu Hen leaped into the air, his whole body turning into a beam of sword light, shooting away into the distance. In the blink of an eye, he had left. Futilda watching Zhu Hen fall for it, Gu Rong exhaled heavily, then his legs went weak, and he collapsed straight back onto the ground. Elder Bone, the elders and disciples beside and behind him, were shocked to see this scene and hurriedly called out to him, fearing something might happen to him. "I'm fine. Quickly send someone to the Balak kingdom to tell the sect master what happened here, and ask him and Elder Sword to return immediately," Gu Rong instructed the crowd. "Yes, Elder Bone." The 2 elders of different surnames, who had previously supported him, bowed their heads and replied. On a road not far from the 7 treasure mountains, Zhu Hen landed. He put away his imperial power sword spirit, and a cold, emotionless voice sounded in his mind. Semi-fictional character, Super Douluo Zhu Hen. Authenticity rate has increased, now, 95.35%. 100,000-year spirit beast nirvana mysterious turtle corpse containing spirit bone can be materialized. Zhu Hen walked along the road, listening to the voice in his mind, the corners of his mouth curling up slightly. The authenticity rate had increased again. After the news of his visit to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School spread, the authenticity rate would definitely increase some more, and he would become stronger and stronger. Just as Zhu Hen had expected, a few days later, Ning Fengzhai and Chen Xin, who were far away in the Balak Kingdom, received a message from the sect and immediately chose to return. At the same time, the news that the Super Douluo Zhu Hen, who possessed twin spirits, had descended upon the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School and easily defeated Bone Douluo, who had been boosted by 12 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda Spirit Emperors, in just 3 moves, quickly spread across the continent. For a time, the continent was shaken. Chapter 14, Movements of All Parties, Sky Screen reappears. In the kingdom of Barak, within the royal palace, King Kundera sat on his throne, his face filled with worry as he heard the news brought back by his ministers. That rebellious son did not come here, but instead chased after the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Even though Bone Douluo had protected his beloved concubine and son this time, what about next time? Once that rebellious son discovers he has been deceived, he will likely be even more eager for revenge. When he goes to cause trouble at the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School again, will Bone Douluo and the others still be able to handle it? Thinking of these things, Kundera felt a headache coming on. A seat was placed slightly below him, and at this moment, someone was sitting on it. This was a man dressed in gold-red luxurious robes, with handsome features, short golden hair, and an air of nobility about him. He was none other than the Empire's crown prince, Zhu King, sent here by the order of Emperor Zhu Yi from Heaven Du City. Of course, Zhu King was merely her disguise. Her true identity was the young lord of Spirit Hall, Qian Rengxu. Having also received news that Zhu Hen had gone to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, Qian Rengxu narrowed her eyes and thought to herself, interesting. With the exposure of the sky screen, the future has truly been changed. He did not come here, but instead guessed that Ning Pianpian would take their son and flee. Immediately, Qian Rengxu stood up, bowed to Kundera sitting at the head, and said, Uncle King, since Prince Zhu Hen will not be coming here, I shall take my leave and return to report this matter to the Emperor, to see if we can find him near the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Kundera was currently filled with anxiety, and had no desire to exert himself entertaining this nephew who had been staying with him for over half a month. He nodded at him and said rather casually, Very well, take care on your journey. Yes, I take my leave. I will not see you out. Qian Rengxu walked out of the royal palace with her guards in large strides. Once outside, she instructed one of her guards behind her, Go tell the person sent by that woman that there is no need to target Zhu Hen for the time being. I have a better way to deal with him. Yes, young lord, the guard bowed his head in acknowledgement, then flashed and vanished from where he stood. HMPH, can a titled Douluo in his early 20s endure being deceived? Once he finds out about this, how could he let the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School off? By then, once they have both suffered losses, my spirit hall can reap the benefits. After the guard left, Qian Rengxu clasped her hands behind her back, the corners of her mouth curling up slightly as she thought to herself. Subsequently, she led her people onto the road, returning to Heaven Du City. Half a day later. Outside Soto City, Shrek Academy. Ning Rongrong had also received news of Zhu Hen causing a scene at the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School and defeating the augmented Gu Rong in just 3 moves. Immediately, a look of deep concern appeared on her pretty face. Bone Grandpa. Rongrong, don't worry. The 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School is the 2nd greatest sect in the world. Even if that Zhu Hen is strong, he is only one person. He cannot stir up any trouble. Seeing Ning Rongrong's worried appearance, Oscar quickly comforted her. Upon hearing his words, Ning Rongrong was about to nod and accept the comfort, however. Has the trouble not already been stirred up? A hoarse voice suddenly sounded at this moment. The group looked toward the source of the sound and saw a figure in a black cloak standing in a tree not far away. Tang Hao. Ever since he appeared before everyone a month ago, he had not chosen to leave but instead remained here, guarding Tang San's side. It is worth mentioning that Zyro Wu had not left either. Although she was terrified inside, seeing that Tang Hao did not expose her identity as a spirit beast, and even acted as if he did not know her secret, she gradually began to numb herself, pretending that Tang Hao was not a titled Douluo, pretending that he really hadn't recognized her. and continued playing the role of human Zyro Wu, mingling with Tang San, Dai Mubai, and the others. "Uncle Tang, what do you mean by that?" Ning Rongrong asked Tang Hao. "Dad." Tang San also looked at Tang Hao and asked. Tang Hao gazed toward the direction of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, his voice flat. A super Douluo with twin spirits is not so easy to deal with. Although the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School is very strong, their top combat power only consists of Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo. Unless they can set a trap to contain that Zhu Hen, they will always be Zhu Hen's prey and will never be able to hunt him. Dad, could it be that even if Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo, these 2 seniors, join forces, along with the amplification from Schoolmaster Ning's 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda, they still cannot defeat that Zhu Hen? Tang San pressed Tang Hao. As a genius who also possessed twin spirits and innate full spirit power, he was very curious about the upper limits of Zhu Hen's combat power. Facing his son's question, Tang Hao turned his gaze toward him and then shook his head slowly. They cannot defeat him. How can that be? The group under the tree was shocked, and Ning Rongrong's body trembled slightly. On the sky screen, that Zhu Hen is a level 98 attack system titled Douluo, which is already very difficult to defeat. His spirit, the Imperial Power Sword, is a top-tier spirit that mutated from the King Power Sword. Coupled with his second spirit, the Emerald Swan, he can recover immediately even if injured. With powerful combat capability and healing ability combined, let alone Chen Xin and Gu Rong, I think that even that old fellow in Spirit Hall probably doesn't have absolute certainty that he can defeat him, Tang Hao said flatly. The old fellow in Spirit Hall, Dad, who is he? Tang San asked curiously. Qian Dailiu, an existence who was once as famous as my grandfather, a level 99 limit Douluo, hailed as invincible in the sky, Tang Hao replied. Level 99 limit Douluo, Tang San's eyes widened. Boom! Tang San wanted to ask more about the Spirit Master's world, however, at this moment, a loud noise suddenly came from the sky above everyone's heads. Immediately following, strong winds arose, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. The sky began to darken at a speed visible to the naked eye. This scene made everyone in Shrek, including Tang San, feel a tightening in their hearts. It appeared again. This scene had appeared a month ago. At that time, the sky screen manifested and exposed many things about Zhu Hen and Tang San, making them known to the whole world. Now, is this sky screen going to appear again? Outside Heaven Do City, in an inn. Zhu Hen sat cross-legged on the bed, feeling the spirit power in his body that was infinitely close to level 98, and felt wonderful. After these few days of spreading, the news of his descent upon the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School and easily defeating Bone Douluo had spread to many places on the continent, and it was told with vivid detail. This caused the authenticity rate of his Super Douluo persona to constantly increase, and it had now reached 98.66%, with his spirit power also increasing significantly. The reason why he hadn't broken through to level 98 yet was likely because he had encountered a bottleneck. Perhaps he would only be able to break through when the authenticity rate reached 100%. However, having said that, Zhu Hen was not the type of person who liked to wait. During this process of waiting for 100%, he must do something else. What to do? Of course, it was to continue constructing content and projecting it onto the sky screen. Constructing this will be good. Thinking this, Zhu Hen smiled, his mind moved, and in the firmament, a brilliant light gradually lit up, and a sky screen began to unfold. Chapter 15, Qian Zunji, Yuan Kai. The reappearance of the sky screen shocked all living beings on the continent. Spirit Hall, the 2 great empires, the upper 3 sects, the lower 4 sects. The heads of many forces shot out from their rooms, stood before their doors and looked up at the firmament. I wonder what kind of scenes the sky screen will show this time. In front of the Supreme Pontiff Palace, Bibaidong gripped the scepter in her hand, feeling expectant in her heart. If it weren't for the sky screen, she would have had no idea that there was a monster named Zhu Hen in the Spirit Master's world, whose cultivation had already reached the realm of a level 98 Super Douluo in his early 20s, and who also possessed twin spirits just like her, both of which were top-tier spirits, 1 attack system and 1 support system, simply too perfect. Such an existence was a threat to her. And that Tang San, who was also a genius with twin spirits and innate full spirit power, and was a bastard born to Tang Hao and that blue-silver grass spirit beast, he was also a potential threat to her. It was laughable that she, the dignified Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall, had known nothing about these two threats before the sky screen appeared. Now that the sky screen had appeared again, she hoped it would reveal more secrets to her, allowing her to see just how many guys were hiding in this spirit master's world who might affect her grand plan. A clear sky sect. Tang Zyro stood with his hands behind his back at the edge of the cliff, looking up at the firmament, and muttered, Tang San is brother Hao and Yin's child, a genius with twin spirits and innate full spirit power, and also the hope of our clear sky sect. If only the sky screen could show scenes about him again this time, so I would know where he is, and then I could bring him back to nurture him carefully. Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect. The Tang San took Zyrogang as his master. To be honest, this is a huge waste for that child, but it also creates a connection between him and our Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect. It is just a pity that he is from the Clear Sky Sect and is Tang Hao's son. Spirit Hall will not let him go. Otherwise, finding him and bringing him back to serve our Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect would be a good thing. Yu Yuanzhen looked at the firmament, shook his head, and thought to himself. Besides them, countless others were also watching the sky screen, each with their own thoughts. At this moment, as the sky screen fully unfolded, scenes began to appear before everyone's eyes. A magnificent building appeared first. Subsequently, the view zoomed out, revealing an entire city. On the city gate hung an ancient plaque, Spirit City. In front of the Supreme Pontiff Palace, Bibaidong's expression changed. What was going on? Why was it Spirit City? I am the sky screen, knowing the past and understanding the future. Today, I reveal the potential of Xu Hen and Tang San. In the future, I will reveal others and other matters. Since the future is known, the future can be changed. Everything is in your hands. The voice from the last time the sky screen disappeared suddenly rang in Bibaidong's mind. Her expression changed. Could it be that this time the sky screen was going to broadcast matters related to the Spirit Hall? No, wouldn't this expose their secrets? Bibidong gripped the scepter in her hand, and her previous anticipation completely turned into disgust at this moment. This damn sky screen, stop, hurry up and stop for this seat. The sky screen did not pay attention to Bibaidong's mood and continued to broadcast its content. A luxurious carriage, escorted by numerous temple knights, slowly drove into the city. Inside the carriage sat two men. One of them was wearing the attire of the Supreme Pontiff and looked about 50 years old. The other was wearing golden robes, had short black hair, and wore a sun-shaped necklace around his neck. He was handsome and appeared to be about 12 years old. Your Excellency Supreme Pontiff, Spirit City is indeed prosperous. The youth in golden robes lifted the carriage curtain, looked at the city scene outside, and complimented the man. Hearing this, a look of pleasure appeared on the man's face. At the same time, he lowered his head slightly and said humbly, You flatter me. As long as you are satisfied with Spirit City, that is enough. Satisfied, I must also thank the Supreme Pontiff for the hospitality. The youth continued to look outside the carriage without turning back. It is our honor that you could come to Spirit City. The man placed his right hand on his left chest and said with a smile. At the same time, a column of small vertical text appeared beside him. Spirit Hall Supreme Pontiff, Level 95 Attack System Angel Douluo, Kaian Zunji. Then the scene turned to the youth, and a column of small vertical text also appeared beside him, Yuan Kai. The previous Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall, Kaian Zunji, isn't he already dead? Yuan Kai, who is this child? I've never heard of him. Why is the Supreme Pontiff so respectful to him? Is this something that happened in the past? On the continent, the people under the sky screen instantly burst into discussion. In front of the Supreme Pontiff Palace, seeing that long-lost yet incredibly familiar face, Bibaidong widened her eyes. A memory of humiliation from over 20 years ago surged into her heart like a tide. She subconsciously activated her Death Spider Empress spirit. 9 spirit rings, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 red, appeared at her feet, and powerful evil Kai erupted from her body. Kaian Zunji. You animal, you are already dead, and even your soul has been devoured by me. Why do you still appear before me now? Arat. Bibidong roared in her heart. The carriage arrived and stopped in front of the Supreme Pontiff Palace. Kaian Zunji got off first, then bowed slightly and reached out to help the youth named Yuan Kai get off, but was waved away by him, signaling that it was unnecessary. Subsequently, Yuan Kai leaped and jumped off the carriage by himself. After his feet touched the ground, he looked up at the Supreme Pontiff Palace in front of him, nodded, and said, "In the mortal realm, this counts as top-tier grandeur. Naturally, it cannot compare to your hometown. Please." Kai Zunji made a gesture of invitation to the youth and said. Yuan Kai nodded, and followed Kai Zunji into the Supreme Pontiff Palace. They walked through the hallway. While walking, Yuan Kai said to Kai Zunji, "I came here for training, not to enjoy myself. From now on, when we are outside, just call me by my name, Yuan Kai. Just treat me as a spirit master you picked up from outside." This would be too offensive, wouldn't it? Kai Zunji appeared somewhat hesitant. "There is nothing offensive about it. Names are meant to be called, after all," Yuan Kai said casually, looking at the decorations on both sides of the hallway as he walked. "There are angel patterns everywhere. It would be better if there were more sun patterns added." "Yes, this lowly one will give the order immediately to add more sun patterns inside the palace." Kai Zunji immediately lowered his head and replied. "No need to be so deliberate, I was just saying it casually." Yuan Kai waved his hand. "This lowly one. What did I just hear?" The previous Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall referred to himself as this lowly one in front of that youth. What kind of background does he have to make the Supreme Pontiff so respectful? You must know, even the emperors of the great empires are not held in high regard by the Supreme Pontiff. The mortal realm, what does that mean? Chapter 16, Supreme Pontiff's Disciple. There is no rush regarding the sun pattern. First, arrange an identity for me in the Spirit Hall. Just arrange. What do you suggest? Yuan Kai thought for a moment, but couldn't come up with anything, so he simply threw the question back to Kai Zunji. "Well, if you don't mind, the position of Spirit Hall Saint." "Too high, I want to start from the bottom. That's what you call training, after all." "Then how about Platinum Bishop?" Kai Zunji said. "I'm not good at management, and this doesn't seem to be the bottom, does it?" Yuan Kai asked. "It's not like I can actually make you a low-level city guard just because you said you wanted the bottom, right?" Kai Zunji pursed his lips, his inner voice leaking out. "Daddy!" At this moment, a shout suddenly came from the end of the corridor. The two looked in the direction of the sound and saw a young girl wearing a white palace dress, with beautiful golden hair, exquisite and perfect features, and snow-white skin running towards them. She then opened her arms and hugged Kai Zunji. He Zua, seeing the girl, a look of affection appeared on Kai Zunji's face as he stroked her head and called out with a smile. Yuan Kai, standing to the side, saw the girl's face and was stunned for a moment. He then looked up at Kai Zunji and blinked. Although he didn't speak, everyone could tell what he was thinking from the expression on his face. He actually had such a beautiful daughter. On the way back to Heaven Dew City from the Balak Kingdom, Zhu Qinghe looked up at the image on the sky screen, his eyes filled with disbelief. "This, Father Emperor, I never thought that after so many years, I would still be able to see Father Emperor's face. However, did this scene happen in the past? I don't remember it at all, and that Yuan Kai, there is no such person in the Spirit Hall, let alone my Father Emperor treating him with such respect. This is simply impossible. What on earth is going on?" Because of the matters with Xu Hen and Tang Sen beforehand, she had investigated both of them, and it was indeed as the sky screen said. Plus, the sky screen was so magical. How could such a magical thing play fake content? But if it wasn't fake, why didn't she remember it at all? Strange, it's too strange, she couldn't understand it at all. Kai Renxu's heart was filled with questions. Bibi Dong, Chrysanthemum Douluo, Ghost Douluo, and even Kai Daelu, who was standing in front of the offering hall watching the sky screen, shared the same thoughts. That Yuan Kai, he had never seen or even heard of him. How could he have come to Spirit City with Kai Zunji? This is impossible. Holding on to their doubts, everyone continued to watch. "Daddy, did you bring me a gift from your trip this time?" The girl released her arms after hugging her father, took a step back, and asked him with a smile. "Zua, Daddy went out to handle serious business this time, so." Ahem, a light cough sounded from the side. Who are you?" The girl turned her head and asked Yuan Kai, looking him up and down, a flash of curiosity in her eyes. "This guy is dressed even more gorgeously than me. What is his identity?" "Zua, don't be rude, this is." "Hello, young Miss Zua, my name is Yuan Kai, and I am the Supreme Pontiff's newly accepted disciple." Yuan Kai interrupted Kai Zunji's scolding, nudged him aside, and reached out his hand to Kai Renxu. "Daddy's disciple, The girl's attention fell on the word disciple, and she didn't notice that this guy, who looked a bit younger than her, had actually dared to directly bump into her father, the dignified supreme pontiff of the spirit hall, and her father showed no anger at all. "Daddy, is he really your disciple? Did you accept him while you were out this time?" Kyan Renxu asked, looking at Kyan Zunji. Kyan Zunji didn't answer immediately, but looked at Yuan Kai somewhat uneasily. Yuan Kai nodded at him. Seeing this, Kyan Zunji dared to answer, yes. Getting the answer, the girl immediately became interested. She clasped her hands behind her back, walked around Yuan Kai, and then asked, "Looking at you, you seem to be 2 years younger than me. What is your spirit, and what is your spirit power level, that you could actually make my father accept you as his disciple?" "I am 12 years old this year, my spirit is the Sun Martial Soul, and my spirit power is level 39. Yuan Kai answered, looking at the girl. Level 39, the girl's footsteps stopped abruptly and she asked, "How much did you say your level was?" Level 39. Zua God, Yuan Kai also possesses innate level 20 spirit power, just like you. At this moment, Kyan Zunji spoke to the girl. Hearing this, the girl widened her eyes, looked at the boy in front of her with disbelief, and exclaimed, "You also have innate full spirit power of level 20. Yes, Yuan Kai smiled and nodded. Oh, getting the answer, the girl gradually calmed down. No wonder her father accepted him as a disciple. It turned out that he was as gifted as she was. "Hello, my name is Kyan Renxu. Nice to meet you, please take care of me in the future." Thinking this, Kyan Renxu took a deep breath, then a smile appeared on her face. She reached out and took the hand Yuan Kai had offered, smiling at him. "Let's take care of each other," Yuan Kai smiled. Kyan Zunji stood to the side, watching this scene. He subconsciously raised his hand to touch his chin, his eyes slightly squinted, and he even smiled, a smile that seemed a bit strange. Immediately, his expression straightened. He lowered his arm and said to the girl, "Zua, Yuan Kai is Daddy's disciple. He just arrived in Spirit City and isn't familiar with the place yet. Can you help Daddy show him around the city?" "Okay, Daddy," Kyan Renxu agreed. Subsequently, she said to Yuan Kai, "Follow me. I'll take you to visit the spirit fighting arena in our Spirit City first. You can see exciting spirit fights there every day." "Okay, thank you, young Miss Zua," Yuan Kai smiled. "You are my father's disciple. No need to call me young miss, just call me Zua, like my father does." "Okay, young Miss Zua. You, forget it, just follow me first. I'll take you to see the spirit fights." Yuan Kai nodded and said to Kyan Zunji on the side, "I'm going first." "Thank you for preparing a room for me, teacher." "Don't mention it, oh no, it's no problem." Kyan Zunji hurriedly corrected himself. Kyan Renxu frowned, looking at her father, then at this junior brother who had suddenly appeared. She felt something was a bit off. However, thinking about how her father and that woman as a pair of master and disciple got along, it didn't seem like anything was wrong. She shook her head, stopped thinking about these things, and urged Yuan Kai, "Let's go, I'll take you to see the spirit fights." Yuan Kai replied. Subsequently, the two walked out of the hall together. Kyan Zunji watched them leave, the corners of his mouth slightly raised as he muttered, "Double happiness at the door, this is truly heaven blessing my spirit hall. Why can't I understand this? Who can tell me who exactly is that Yuan Kai? Innate full spirit power of level 20, isn't the maximum innate spirit power level 10? Sun Martial Soul. The former Supreme Pontiff actually had a daughter named Kyan Renxu. Chapter 17, I bet he likes her. Spirit City, Great Spirit Arena. Yuan Kai followed Kyan Renxu to this place. He saw Kyan Renxu say something to the attendant at the counter, and shortly after, the attendant walked out from behind the counter and respectfully led them to a certain spirit fighting hall. On the way, Kyan Renxu said to Yuan Kai, "Yuan Kai, you haven't seen a Spirit Douluo level spirit fight yet, right? I just asked, and it just so happens that 2 Spirit Douluo are fighting here today. I'll take you to see it and let you appreciate a battle of this level." "All right, then I'll have to trouble you, young Miss Zua." Yuan Kai looked at the young girl's profile and smiled at her. Although he was smiling, everyone under the sky screen could see that this young man was actually not interested in the Spirit Douluo level spirit fight. What he was truly interested in was, what a youthful heart nature indeed. Soon, under the guidance of the attendant, the two entered the high-level spirit fighting hall. They did not go to the VIP area, but instead found a random spot in the audience seats and sat down. After sitting down, Kai and Renxu pointed at the two spirit masters fighting on the spirit fighting platform and introduced them to Yuan Kai. That one over there is Elder Tuobazai. His spirit is the white armored earth dragon. Although it has dragon in its name, it is not part of the dragon clan. It is merely a close relative of the dragon clan. The other one is Deacon Luordiara, and his spirit is the golden eagle. Following the direction Kai and Renxu pointed, Yuan Kai looked at the two on the spirit fighting platform and said softly, that Elder Tuoba's spirit power is stronger, but the other deacon has flight capabilities and possesses a speed advantage. This should be a battle of attrition. Your eye for detail is quite good. That's right, Elder Tuoba's spirit power is level 88, and he is also the only elder in our spirit hall who is not a titled Douluo, Kai and Renxu said. Yuan Kai nodded. Then his eyes shifted slightly, and he used his peripheral vision to watch the young girl beside him who was focused on watching the spirit fight. After watching for a while, he smiled and turned his gaze back to the spirit fighting platform. Shrek Academy. I bet that Yuan Kai likes that Kai and Renxu, Oscar said with a serious face, punching his palm, speaking very earnestly. Does this even need you to say? I noticed it long ago. Never mind him, I like that Kai and Renxu too. This girl is just too beautiful. Ma Hongjun, who was on the side, rolled his eyes at Oscar and then grinned while wiping the corner of his mouth. What was playing on the sky screen were events from when the previous Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall was still alive. They didn't know how many years ago it was, but judging by her appearance, that Kai and Renxu should have been 13 or 14 years old at the time, just a little older than him, Ma Hongjun. Similar age, good looks, great temperament, love it, love it. Dai Mubai was also a lustful one, but he wasn't as mindless about it as Ma Hongjun. He frowned deeply and scolded him. Fatty, say less of such things. That Yuan Kai's identity is not ordinary, can't you tell? Even the Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall is so respectful to him. His background must be very significant, perhaps even to an extent we cannot imagine. Him having a favorable impression of the Supreme Pontiff's daughter is not a good thing for us. After all, Little Sen has the feud of his mother's murder with Spirit Hall. He didn't mention that he was a prince of the Star Luo Empire, and that a powerful Spirit Hall was a bad thing for him, but instead mentioned the hatred between Tang San and Spirit Hall. That's right, as the sky screen exposed many of Tang San's past experiences, it let everyone know that he was the son of Clear Sky Douluo Tang Hao. And with Tang Hao appearing, under Tang San's questioning, many things had been revealed. Among them was how his wife, Tang San's mother, was killed by someone. Therefore Tang San now held deep hatred for Spirit Hall, and the others of their Shrek 7 devils, out of their stance, naturally had to view Spirit Hall as an enemy. Hearing Dai Mubai's reprimand, Ma Hongjun was stunned for a moment, but soon reacted and quickly looked at Tang San and said, "Oh right, this is a very serious matter. Third brother, don't worry, I don't like that Kai and Renxu anymore. In the future, when you want to seek revenge on Spirit Hall, I'll help you. When the time comes and we meet her, I won't show any mercy. As for that Yuan Kai." Speaking of this, Ma Hongjun scratched his head. I still haven't figured out who he even is. I've never heard of him, and why do both he and that Kai and Renxu have innate level 20 spirit power? That's 10 levels higher than you, third brother. Tang San clenched his hands. Yes, both of them possessed innate level 20 spirit power, starting higher than himself. And this was something that happened in the past, meaning they were older than him now and had cultivated for longer than him. If he wanted to seek revenge on Spirit Hall in the future and encountered them, this. No, I am different from them. They are just locals of this world, but I am different. I still have the mysterious heaven skill and many other Tang sect techniques. My innate spirit power is just inferior to theirs, but my actual starting point is far higher than theirs. In the future, when I face them, the one who wins will definitely be me, Tang San said to himself in his heart. Besides, he looked at the handsome young face on the sky screen, his heart filled with many doubts. That Yuan Kai, who on earth is he? The scene of the two watching the spirit fight did not last too long. It was like a jump cut, showing several scenes of them sitting together from different angles. Finally, that spirit fight ended with the victory of Tuobazai. At that time, the time had changed from morning to afternoon. In the sunset, the two walked out of the Great Spirit Arena together, and the young girl took Yuan Kai to continue strolling around the city, introducing him to various places. When passing by a small stall selling pastries, she even recommended them to the young man, then paid to buy two, eating one herself and handing the other to him. Yuan Kai reached out to take the pastry, looked at it, then looked at the young girl bathed in the sunset light, stunned for a moment, before a handsome smile appeared on his face. He also brought it to his mouth, took a light bite and slowly chewed. Delicious, Yuan Kai said to Kai and Renxu. Right, I wouldn't recommend something wrong to you, the young girl said with a smile. Not far away, a figure stood in an alley, watching them. The camera zoomed in there, gradually revealing this person's face. It was none other than the Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall, Kai Zunji. He was seen looking at this pair of young man and woman, nodding his head as if feeling very gratified and fortunate. Then the screen began to change rapidly. Yuan Kai and Kaian Renxu sparring in the simulated cultivation grounds. The two researching tea making together. The two flipping through materials in the library. Kaian Renxu trying on new clothes, with Yuan Kai standing to the side, touching his chin, scanning up and down, giving his evaluation. All were scenes of them spending time together. Although they were constantly jumping and changing, everyone could see them growing up together. Then the sky screen suddenly dimmed, and pitch blackness instantly enveloped the entire continent. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds later, the sky screen lit up again, and a panicked shout came from the sky screen. It's bad, His Holiness the Supreme Pontiff has been severely injured, and is beyond cure. He has passed away. Chapter 18, Rakshasa God Legacy and Sun God Trial. The Supreme Pontiff Palace appeared on the sky screen again. But unlike the orderly state when Kaian Zunji first brought Yuan Kai here, it was now in complete chaos. Oh no, the Supreme Pontiff has passed away. People were shouting in panic everywhere. What, Father? Kaian Renxu, who was just about to rest, heard the shouting outside. She immediately got out of bed, threw on a cloak, and ran towards the Supreme Pontiff's sleeping quarters. However, when she arrived, she didn't see her father. Standing there was her mother, Bibi Dong. Where is father? They said father. Tilda Bibi Dong looked expressionlessly at the daughter she had with that man. A visible red current of Kai was binding her. Subsequently, her eyes turned crimson. She raised her arm, and a mass of purple energy condensed in her palm. It is worth mentioning that she was currently in her spirit manifestation state. The phantom of the soul-eating spider emperor could be seen behind her, and a 10,000-year spirit ring was beneath her feet. A powerful pressure emanated from her, enveloping the tear-streaked Kaian Renxu, making her feel instantly heavy and unable to move. What are you doing? Kaian Renxu asked, looking at her mother with a trembling voice. Bibi Dong did not answer her but snorted coldly, HMPH. Boom! Immediately, the purple energy in her palm shot out, heading straight for Kaian Renxu's face. Whoosh! At the critical moment, a golden spear shot in from outside the sleeping quarters, embedding itself in the ground in front of Kaian Renxu. At the same time, it erupted with dazzling golden light, forming a barrier that wrapped around her. Bang! A deafening explosion rang out. The items inside the palace, including the bed, tables, and chairs, were all instantly pulverized. When the dust settled, the scene after the explosion was revealed. The golden barrier slowly dissipated. Kaian Renxu had fainted, falling onto the chest of a figure. A hand rested on her shoulder, supporting her to keep her from falling. The camera moved up, revealing the face of this figure. It was a face as fine as jade, with a tear mole at the corner of his right eye and a golden sun pattern necklace hanging around his neck. It was none other than Yuan Kai. Looking at the boy who had suddenly appeared to obstruct her, the crimson-eyed Bibi Dong frowned. She felt a threat from Yuan Kai. Yuan Kai looked down at the girl who had fallen into his arms, raised his right hand, and seemed to stroke her head soothingly, then looked at Bibi Dong in front of him. Rakshasa Aura, you have been influenced by the Rakshasa god, Yuan Kai said calmly. HMPH, I have obtained the Rakshasa god's legacy, Bibi Dong corrected, then prepared to strike again. This time, she intended to annihilate the youth in front of her as well. She spread her arms, and the soul-eating spider emperor behind her opened its bloody maw and lunged at the two of them. Facing such might, Yuan Kai was not flustered at all. He took off the sun necklace hanging around his neck and held it high. Suddenly, the necklace erupted with a golden holy light that enveloped the entire sleeping quarters. A moment later, the light faded. Bibi Dong stood dazed on the spot. Her originally crimson eyes had returned to normal, and her soul-eating spider emperor spirit had been forcibly deactivated. Then, she staggered and fell to the ground. Yuan Kai looked at her, said nothing, picked Kaian Renxu up horizontally, turned and left. Then the scene changed. Spirit Hall was holding a grand coronation ceremony. With the support of Kaian Dalu, Bibaidong sat on the throne of the Supreme Pontiff. Kaiyan Rengsu, on the other hand, was depressed all day, heartbroken by her father's death and saddened by her mother's attempt to kill her. Yuan Kai watched from the side and tried to comfort her, but to no avail. A few daily scenes flashed by. One day in the morning, Kaiyan Rengsu found Yuan Kai and said to him, "Yuan Kai, I am leaving Spirit City. I just accepted a mission and have to go out for a trip. It might take 5 or even 10 years. Hearing this, Yuan Kai frowned. "So long, what mission? Can't you refuse it?" Kaiyan Rengsu shook her head. "I have already agreed to it. This is also my father's dying wish. As his daughter, I should help him complete it. Then I will go with. I came to say goodbye to you. We cannot go together on this trip. Father told me that you come from a very far place and that you actually have relatives. Now that father is gone and I am leaving Spirit City, the current Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall is that woman. I fear you will not be comfortable continuing to stay here. You, go back to find your relatives and live your own life." Kaiyan Rengsu bit her lip slightly, her voice trembling, but she still said these words. "You want me to leave?" Yuan Kai's eyes widened slightly, and he asked in disbelief. "Yes, if you don't leave, that woman will make things difficult for you. With me not here, I won't be able to protect you. I am not afraid of her. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have put her in my eyes at all." Yuan Kai waved his hand and said, "Don't say such things. She is the Supreme Pontiff now." Kaiyan Rengsu shook her head. "But, Yuan Kai, we will meet again in the future. When I finish the mission, you will surely receive the news. At that time, you can come back to Spirit City, and we will drink tea, read books, and play together again. How about that?" Kaiyan Rengsu tried to show a bright smile to Yuan Kai. Yuan Kai looked at this smile and did not answer for a long time. Then the scene changed again. The girl, escorted by a team of spirit masters, left Spirit City in a carriage. Yuan Kai stood on the city wall, watching her leave. When the carriage completely disappeared from view, Yuan Kai sighed and muttered, "In the end, the time to part has come." "Why didn't you save Kaiyan Zunji? You could actually have saved him." At this moment, a grand voice suddenly rang out. Although the voice was grand, it seemed that only Yuan Kai in the entire Spirit City could hear it. Didn't Kaiyan Dalu fail to save him too? Yuan Kai did not answer the question, but asked one in return. The owner of the voice fell silent. A while later, he said to Yuan Kai, "Are you going to leave here?" I originally followed Kaiyan Zunji here with the intention of training. As a result, I spent this past year or so occupied with other things and almost forgot my original intention," Yuan Kai replied. "Sun God Trial, third trial, the trial of the mundane. You chose Spirit City at the beginning. If you leave now, everything will have to start over. All traces of your past will be erased, and those who knew you before will forget you. Are you sure you want to leave here?" "Forget me?" Yuan Kai looked in the direction the carriage had left, his eyes becoming deeper. Then he smiled and said, "She won't forget. On the day we reunite, she will remember. Definitely." "Good, I respect your choice. Then, little Yuan Kai, I will now reset the Sun God Trial, third trial for you." As this voice fell, the sun in the sky seemed to be summoned by something, and suddenly shone even brighter. Yuan Kai was bathed in the sunlight, and his figure gradually became unclear. The current Supreme Pontiff has the Rakshasa god's legacy. How did the previous Supreme Pontiff actually die? Looking at it this way, it seems a bit like Sun God Trial, that Yuan Kai is a person chosen by the gods. Chapter 19, Our Clear Sky Sect was framed by Bibaidong. On the road from the Balak Kingdom to Heaven Dew City. Gazing at the figure on the sky screen, bathed in dazzling sunlight and gradually becoming impossible to see clearly, Kaiyan Rengsu stood frozen in place. At this moment, as if a seal had been broken, fragments of memory appeared in her mind. It was in Spirit City under the setting sun, in front of a small stall, where she handed a piece of pastry to the young boy in front of her. "This." Kaiyan Rengsu's eyes widened instantly. "This scene." Her pupils constricted, and she stared fixedly at the firmament. This scene had been played on the sky screen before. How did it suddenly appear in her mind? And it wasn't from a bystander's perspective, but from the perspective of having truly experienced it. Could it be? Is it real? Did all of this actually happen, and I just don't remember it? The Sun God Trial. Did the power of a god seal my memory and erase the traces of that Yuan Kai ever existing in the world? It's him and me. Kaiyan Rengsu's body trembled slightly. At this moment, the sky screen displayed other images again. She gathered her spirits and continued to watch. 5 years later, a line of text appeared on the sky screen. Then a vast forest came into everyone's view. A young man dressed in golden athletic wear, with short black hair and a tear mole at the corner of his right eye, was walking through the forest with a long spear on his back. Just then, a sound came from not far ahead of him. The young man didn't care and continued walking. Before long, a figure dragging the corpse of a spirit beast appeared and walked towards him. This person was dressed in white, with straight eyebrows and calm eyes that were like deep pools absorbing all the daylight. His nose was well defined, his thin lips were slightly pursed, and he looked less than 20 years old, yet he was very composed, giving off an incredibly reliable feeling. He isn't. Beneath the sky screen, someone recognized this person. Zhu Hen, at Shrek Academy, Tang San solemnly read the name of the person who appeared dragging the spirit beast's corpse. As someone who appeared on the sky screen before him, and like him, possessed twin spirits and innate full spirit power, Tang San paid exceptional attention to him. He didn't expect that he had actually met that Yuan Kai. He wondered if they would fight later. Zhu Hen dragged the spirit beast's corpse forward. Yuan Kai was the same, his gaze fixed ahead, walking without the slightest fluctuation in his emotions. The two passed each other just like that. After walking a few more steps, the white-clad Zhu Hen suddenly stopped. Without turning his head with his back to Yuan Kai, he asked, "Hey, you're not immortal, are you?" Yuan Kai also stopped at this moment, also without turning his head, and with his back to Zhu Hen, he said, "Why, can only mortals appear on this continent?" "Not really." Zhu Hen was silent for a moment, then said lightly. Immediately, he continued forward. Yuan Kai also took a step at almost the same time. The two just kept walking like that, getting further and further apart. The image stopped there and a humming sound rang out. Immediately after, a vast voice came from the firmament. "I am the sky screen, passing through the past and knowing the future. Previously, I revealed the aptitude of Zhu Hen and Tang San. Today, I reveal the existence of Yuan Kai. Since the future is known, the future can be changed. Everything is in your hands." As this vast voice faded, the image on the sky screen slowly disappeared, and the firmament gradually returned to a clear blue, with sunlight shining on the earth once again. However, this time the term sun god couldn't help but pop into the minds of everyone bathed in the sunlight. That Yuan Kai, the previous Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall, was so respectful to him, and even said that the Supreme Pontiff Palace was not as magnificent as his hometown. Yuan Kai had also mentioned terms like mortal realm, coupled with what Zhu Hen said when they met, that he was not a mortal. If he is not a mortal and is participating in the sun god trial, then who is he? This is not hard to guess. Suddenly, throughout the continent, some spirit masters who guessed Yuan Kai's possible identity couldn't help but gasp. If it's true, then this person is truly a top-tier big shot. Heaven Do Imperial Palace. God race. That boy named Yuan Kai is definitely a descendant of a god, and not many generations apart. He is either God's child or a god's grandson. That's why that madman Kai Zunji was so respectful to him. Investigate. Hurry up and investigate for me. Where is that Yuan Kai now? Doesn't he like girls like Kai and Rengsu? Invite him to Heaven Do City, and he can pick any girl from my empire. Emperor Zuyi gripped his scepter tightly and shouted at the ministers behind him. "Yes, your majesty," the ministers replied in unison. It's just that everyone had no confidence in this matter. After all, they hadn't even found Zhu Hen and Tang San who appeared on the sky screen before, so how could they find this one who is obviously even more powerful? "Your majesty, you are thinking too simply." Clear Sky Sect. That Yuan Kai is definitely not a human, he is from the god race. Tang Ziro immediately judged Yuan Kai's identity, and then he took a deep breath, his eyes full of anger as he said, "And the death of Kai and Zunji. Everyone said back then that he was severely injured by Brother Hao and died, but looking at it from the sky screen, I'm afraid it's not that simple. When Kai and Rengsu went to look for him after hearing the news of Kai and Zunji's death, why didn't she see his corpse, but instead saw Bibaidong in a state of spirit avatar? Why did Bibaidong want to kill Kai and Zunji's daughter? There are too many problems here." The second elder also walked over at this time. He had his hands behind his back, his body hunched, and his eyes were sharp as he said, after Kyanzunji died, Bibaidong sat on the position of Supreme Pontiff. According to the logic that the beneficiary is the biggest suspect, it is very likely that Kyanzunji did not die from the injuries caused by Tang Hao, but died at the hands of Bibaidong's soul-eating spider emperor. HMPH, this damned Bibaidong, she dared to plot against her teacher and even pinned the blame on our Clear Sky sect. Tang Zyro snorted, his hands clenched into fists, making the sound of joints vibrating. I must skin her and tear her bones apart, and smash her into 10,000 pieces. Don't jump to conclusions yet, there is another problem here. A voice on the sky screen previously asked Yuankai why he didn't save Kyanzunji, and Yuankai asked back, saying Dalu didn't save him either. What does this mean? It seems to be saying that Dalu could actually have saved Kyanzunji, but he didn't do so. Dalu is Kyanzunji's father. Why didn't he save his own son? Moreover, if he knew that Kyanzunji was killed by Bibaidong, why would he support her to sit on the position of Supreme Pontiff? This doesn't make sense. Saying this, the second elder shook his head. Many images on the sky screen were jumpy and not coherent enough, leaving him full of questions and unable to figure it out no matter what. Hearing the second elder's words, Tang Zyro frowned. After a moment of silence, he said, "Forget about all that. First, announce to the outside world that our Clear Sky sect was framed by Bibaidong, and that the person who really killed Kyanzunji was not Brother Hao, but her, that rebellious woman. Regardless of the truth, Bibaidong is the Supreme Pontiff of Spirit Hall, and no matter what we say about her, it is not too much." Chapter 20, Fusion, Sun Martial Soul. Indeed. If Kyanzunji was truly killed by Bibaidong, then their Clear Sky sect has been carrying the blame for so many years, even being driven to the point of being forced to seal their mountain due to the Spirit Hall's frantic attacks. They must surely seek to clear their name. If they guessed wrong, even though Bibaidong appeared in Kyanzunji's bedchamber at that time and acted very strangely, she was not the murderer who killed Kyanzunji, and Kyanzunji indeed died from the heavy injuries inflicted by Tang Hao, then saying so to the outside world is not wrong either. After all, the Spirit Hall has harmed our Clear Sky sect so miserably, and now the images revealed on the sky screen show that the current Supreme Pontiff is suspected of killing the previous Supreme Pontiff. If they seize this opportunity to use public opinion to confirm this matter, it will stir up some hearts and cause instability within the Spirit Hall, which holds no downsides for them. Therefore, no matter what, they can and should do this. After thinking for a while, the second elder nodded and said to Tang Zyro, "Let's do it this way. Yuehua is in Heaven Do City, let her handle this matter from her side." Amen, Tang Zyro nodded in response. His sister is currently teaching at the Heaven Do Imperial Family's Etiquette Academy and has extensive connections. Moreover, she and Emperor Zui have, a certain relationship that is difficult to speak of directly. With her taking action, she will soon be able to stir up a wave of public opinion across the continent. By then, everyone will know how wronged our Clear Sky sect is, and how vicious the current Supreme Pontiff of the Spirit Hall, Bibaidong, is. Thinking of this, Tang Zyro let out a heavy sigh, and the pent-up resentment in his heart for all these years was slightly vented. Shrek Academy. Tang Hao stood on the branch of a large tree, his brows furrowed tightly. Actually, he had suspected it a long time ago. Although his battle with Kyanzunji back then successfully injured the other party, how could that kind of injury cause a dignified level 95 titled Douluo to die from his wounds? But the facts were right before his eyes. Kyanzunji had indeed died, his disciple Bibaidong had ascended to the position of Supreme Pontiff, and his father Dalu had personally come to hunt him down. With these things placed before him, he could not help but believe that he had indeed killed the Supreme Pontiff of the Spirit Hall. But now, those images previously played on the sky screen. Bibaidong, who appeared in Kyanzunji's bedchamber in a state of spirit possession. "Could it have been you, Bibaidong?" Tang Hao muttered. It couldn't have been her. On the other side, after Kyan Renxu felt shocked by the sudden appearance of some memories in her mind, she closed her eyes, took several deep breaths, and tried hard to calm her emotions. Then, thinking of this matter, she said to herself in her heart. The reason she thought this was not because she trusted Bibaidong that much, but because she trusted her grandfather, Dalu. Grandfather loved her so much, and also loved her father so much. How could he have the ability to save her father but not do so? The content just played on the sky screen must have some errors in it. It must. Besides, that woman, although in her memories the way she and her father interacted was indeed very abnormal and strange, they must have loved each other. Otherwise, how could she exist? People who have loved each other, even if they have some conflicts, would never want to kill the other party. Therefore, her father was definitely not killed by her, but as everyone said, he died from the heavy injuries inflicted by Tang Hao. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect. Wind Sword Sect. The heads of the major forces all launched intense discussions regarding the content on the sky screen this time. The most important among them was the existence of Yuan Kai. Next was the suspicion that Bibaidong killed her teacher, the previous Supreme Pontiff Kaian Zunji, as well as the legacy of the Rakshasa god that both she and Yuan Kai had once mentioned. The current Supreme Pontiff of the Spirit Hall has the legacy of the Rakshasa god. This is certainly not a small matter. Inside a hotel on the outskirts of Heaven Dew City, the outside world was buzzing with discussion. Not to mention the major forces, even the ordinary people drinking and eating meat downstairs were discussing topics like Yuan Kai, innate full spirit power level 20, god tests, the previous Supreme Pontiff, and the current Supreme Pontiff. Opening the window, hearing the noisy discussions outside, and looking at the system panel that only he could see in front of him, seeing the reality rate of the fictional character, Yuan Kai, constantly increasing, Zhu Hen smiled with satisfaction. 10% right arrow, 19% right arrow, 33.5% right arrow, 41%. The reality rate of the character Yuan Kai began to grow extremely slowly after rising above 40%. This was normal. Unlike Super Douluo Zhu Hen, the former was a semi-fictional character. For example, he himself was real, had indeed been expelled from the royal family by Kundera, exiled to Fasanuta province, and had awakened the Emerald Swan Spirit, an innate full spirit power level 10 at the New Uding City Spirit Hall branch. These were all true. The later parts about the dual spirit and spirit ring configuration, as well as some experiences, were indeed fictional, but on the whole there was truth and falsehood. Furthermore, no matter how strong a Super Douluo was, they still belonged to the category of humans. Although shocking, it was still within the scope of cognition. But Yuan Kai was different. This character was completely fictional, his origins were terrifying, and his strength was even more unfathomable. For such a character, it did not surprise him that the reality rate was very low at the beginning. However, low as it was, a reality rate of over 40% was still enough for him to perform a fusion with the character. Fictional character, descendant of the sun god Yuan Kai, spirit, sun spirit power, unknown, domain, unknown spirit tool, scorching sun spear, can perform fusion. Unknown meant uncertain. If fictional things were uncertain, then it was approximately equal to non-existent. This meant that by performing a fusion with this character, Zhu Hen's spirit power would not currently improve, and his domains would not increase, but he could gain an extra sun martial soul and a spirit tool called the Scorching Sun Spear. When the reality rate of the character, Yuan Kai, increased in the future, his abilities would gradually become reality, and at that time, his own spirit power and domains would expand accordingly. Having an extra spirit and a spirit tool is not bad either. I'll think of ways to gradually improve his reality later, Zhu Hen thought as he looked at the system panel. Immediately he focused his mind. Fusion. Whoosh, a burst of golden light shot out from the panel and into Zhu Hen's body. Suddenly, he felt himself being wrapped in a warm current. This sensation was very comfortable. He raised his hands and spread his arms. A dazzling ball of light flashed behind him. These rays of light condensed and did not disperse, resembling a miniature sun. No, it was the sun. Sun Martial Soul. Looking back at the spirit he had activated behind him, Zhu Hen muttered, "This counts as having an extra vest. Although it doesn't have any spirit rings yet, with my current peak level 97 spirit power, it wouldn't be difficult to fully attach spirit rings to it. This doesn't need to wait for the reality rate to increase." Not only that, when he fully attached spirit rings to the Sun Martial Soul, and then activated it in public, letting people see the existence and power of Yuan Kai with their own eyes, the reality rate would definitely increase significantly then. Chapter 21, Ning Fengzhai's Decision. Thinking of that bright future, Zhu Hen's mood couldn't help but brighten even further. He strode over to the mirror on the side, looking at the different face reflected within. Short black hair, handsome features, and a tear mole at the corner of his right eye. This was exactly the appearance of Yuan Kai on the sky screen. In Douluo I, after becoming a god, Kaian Renxu could only mobilize a portion of the sun's power to counter Tang San's vast sea power. The book explicitly states that the power of the sun should be above the great sea, but the angel god is not the sun god after all. So if there really were a sun god, then mobilizing all the power of the sun shouldn't be a problem, right? Zhu Hen raised his right hand, a dazzling golden light blooming from his palm. He curled his lips slightly and thought to himself. Boom! Following that, he cast this sphere of light out. The golden radiance, like a ribbon of silk, passed through the window and struck a large tree about 200 meters outside the inn. In just an instant, the large tree, which would require 3 grown men to embrace, was blasted into splinters, and sparks scattered across the ground. This sudden explosion frightened many people nearby. 1 or 2 spirit masters with good eyesight noticed the direction from which the attack on the tree had originated. They gazed at the second floor of the inn, brows furrowed, and after thinking for a while, all shook their heads and did nothing. For one, meddling in other people's business is not a good habit. Secondly, with this power and this speed, the spirit power of the person who attacked was likely above level 70, they were no match for him. Zhu Hen cancelled the fusion with the character Yuan Kai and restored his original appearance. He walked to the window, looking at the sparks and tree splinters scattered on the ground outside, and nodded slightly. It didn't even count as a spirit ability. It was just a casual strike by channeling spirit power and activating the natural attributes of his spirit, yet it had such power. This Sun Martial Soul truly has remarkable destructive power. Speaking of which, the Sun Martial Soul also appeared in the Douluo Roman II novel. It belonged to Princess Su Tianjin of the Sun Moon Empire. At that time, the Spirit Master's world held the Sun Martial Soul in high regard as a top-tier fire attribute spirit possessing the ultimate fire attribute, but in her hands, it didn't seem particularly impressive. There are no useless spirits, only useless people. This saying, if applied to spirit masters who possess top-tier spirits but have mediocre strength, it seems to make some sense. Zhu Hen touched his chin and muttered to himself. After watching for a while longer, waiting until the remnants of the tree were completely burned away and the flames had disappeared, Zhu Hen turned and walked out of the guest room. The moment he stepped through the door, he took a silver mask out of his storage necklace, put it on his face, then walked down the stairs and arrived at the first floor of the inn. Checking out, Zhu Hen handed his room plate to the innkeeper at the counter and said. The innkeeper took the room plate, checked the registration book, calculated the time, and then settled the bill for Zhu Hen to check out. Leaving the inn and standing on the dirt road in the suburbs, Zhu Hen clearly felt a few gazes land on him. He didn't pay them any mind, identified the direction, and then headed towards the location of Heaven Du City. Half a day later, without rushing, he arrived at the gates of Heaven Du City while walking at a leisurely pace. He looked up at the ancient plaque on the city gate, then followed the other passers-by into the city. Meanwhile, on the other side, Ning Fengzhai and Chen Xin, who had been traveling at full speed, finally rushed back to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School from the Kingdom of Barak. At this moment, the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School was in a state of full sect-wide martial law, and the return of Ning Fengzhai and Chen Xin allowed them to breathe a huge sigh of relief. Uncle Goose, how are you? Old Bone, are you all right? Ning Fengzhai and Chen Xin came to Gu Rong's room with worried expressions to visit him. Cough, cough tilde. Gu Rong, who was lying on the bed, sat up. After coughing a few times and catching his breath, he leaned against the headboard, looked at the 2 people who had finally returned and said, I'm okay, not dead yet. Uncle Gu, what are you saying? Anyone in this world can die, but you and Uncle Sword absolutely cannot, Ning Fengzhai said to Gu Rong with a serious face. Heh, I was just joking, Gu Rong said with an ugly smile. Old Bone, is that Zhu Hen really that strong? 12 spirit emperors who activated the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda boosted you, yet you couldn't block his attack. Chen Xin saw that although his old friend's injuries were not light, they were not at a fatal stage and would be fine after recuperating for a while. He breathed a sigh of relief, then frowned and asked him. Although the sky screen had previously played footage of Zhu Hen instantly killing a 100,000-year spirit beast, the life giant whale, Gu Rong was the #1 defensive Douluo in the world, and he had 12 spirit emperors with the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda spirit boosting him. Logically, he shouldn't have been defeated so easily. Even if it were Kai and Dailiu, he would have to use a dozen moves or so, right? Saw Douluo, who only knew a few things from his father, but not much else, thought this way. Sai strong, too strong. He is completely different from any enemy I have encountered in the past. Although we didn't have a true life and death struggle, I can feel that if it really came down to a life and death battle, him killing me wouldn't be much harder than killing that life giant whale. Even with 12-7 treasure deacons boosting me, it would be useless. Gu Rong shook his head and sighed. Hearing this answer, Chen Xin's expression became very grave. In that case, even if Fengzhai and I have returned, with the three of us joining forces to deal with him, I'm afraid we don't have much chance of winning. Enning Fengzhai's expression was the most serious. He furrowed his brows tightly and suddenly said, "Abandon Ning Pianpian." What? Gu Rong and Chen Xin were stunned and looked at him one after another. They were just discussing how to deal with Zhu Hen and resist his possible second attack. Why did you suddenly say that? Previously, I wanted to strive for a bit more. After all, that child, Prince Xu Tian, carries the bloodline of our 7 treasure glazed tile school and is indeed deeply loved by Kundera. If he could sit in the position of Crown Prince or even King of the Kingdom of Barak, that would be of great benefit to our 7 treasure glazed tile school. Furthermore, because of the sky screen incident, everyone knows that Ning Pianpian is a disciple of our 7 treasure glazed tile school and has a vendetta against Zhu Hen. If we were to ignore it, not to mention being mocked, morale within the sect would also waver. But Enning Fengzhai closed his eyes somewhat powerlessly. After a moment of silence, he opened them again, his gaze becoming a bit sharper. Reality is too cruel. That Zhu Hen's strength is too great. Moreover, when Uncle Sword and I went to the Kingdom of Barak this time, we discovered that King had also gone there. It must have been Emperor Zhu Yi who ordered him to recruit Zhu Hen. Emperor Zhu Yi will no longer agree to appoint Prince Xu Tian as Crown Prince like he did on the sky screen, and Kundera will no longer dare to do so. Ning Pianpian and her son no longer have any value to the sect. But if we just hand over the mother and son like this, what about the dignity of the 7 treasure glazed tile school? Gu Rong asked somewhat excitedly. The 7 treasure glazed tile school is the second largest sect in the world. Although the few of them cannot defeat Zhu Hen, the overall strength of the sect is definitely not something that a single Super Douluo can shake. If they surrender just like this, what face will they have to call themselves the second in the future on the continent? Besides, other disciples in the sect might have their own thoughts. We just don't hand them over openly. Uncle Gu's previous actions have already shown that our 7 treasure glazed tile school does not fear Zhu Hen, and those disciples in the sect all know that even if threatened by a powerful enemy, we will do our best to protect our own. Next, as long as we hand over the mother and son in secret, no one will be able to say a word of ridicule about our 7 treasure glazed tile school. Chapter 22. Young Miss, you are poisoned. Hearing these words from Ning Fengzhai, Gu Rong and Chen Xin looked at each other. Was this appropriate? Uncle Gu, Uncle Jian, there is no other choice. You both saw what was just shown on the sky screen. Bibai Dong actually carries the Rakshasa god's legacy, a god's legacy. It's unimaginable how strong she is now. Facing such a spirit hall, we are already under immense pressure. We really cannot afford to provoke another powerful enemy. Ning Fengzhai said to the two, his tone filled with helplessness and a sense of powerlessness. Hearing this, the two nodded. Chen Xin spoke up. Understood, then we shall do as you say. But how should we secretly hand that mother and son over to Zhu Hen? And what if Zhu Hen later publicly declares that it was us who betrayed that mother and son? What then? We just won't hand them over directly into his hands. If he doesn't know that it was us who betrayed, that it was us who handed over Ning Pianpian and her son, how could he publicly declare it? Ning Fengzhai said. Fengzhai, since you intend to hand over that mother and son, wouldn't it be better to hand them directly to Zhu Hen? Let him know our intentions and show that we are willing to turn hostility into friendship with him. Gu Rong asked Ning Fengzhai. And Ning Fengzhai shook his head. No, Uncle Gu, you don't understand. Judging from the sky screen, that Zhu Hen is quite arrogant. If we were to hand Ning Pianpian and her son directly to him, it would surely invite his disdain. Moreover, his grudge with us is mainly because of Ning Pianpian. As long as the mother and son fall into his hands, his conflict with us will naturally dissipate. Of course, I haven't forgotten the debt of him injuring Uncle Gu, but I know this. The situation is stronger than the people who told us 3 that we couldn't beat him, Gu Rong said understandingly. Then let's first determine Zhu Hen's location, and then drop Ning Pianpian and her son nearby, letting him discover them himself, Chen Xin said. Yes, that's exactly what we'll do, Ning Fengzhai nodded. Fengzhai, do you know where that kid Zhu Hen is right now? Gu Rong asked Ning Fengzhai. I can roughly guess. Ning Fengzhai turned his head to look in the direction of Heaven Du City and said softly, Zhu Hen's biological mother was Kundera's original wife. because of Ning Pianpian. She was deposed as empress by Kundera, imprisoned in the cold palace, and died in depression. She didn't even have a posthumous title after death. As her son, besides seeking revenge, Zhu Hen would surely want to clear his mother's name. Therefore, he might go to Heaven Du City and try to reclaim his mother's queenly honor from Emperor Zhu Yi. Furthermore, Heaven Du City is the closest city to the Seven Treasure Mountains. Since Zhu Hen came to the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School, the probability of him going there after leaving is the highest. Then let's send people to Heaven Du City now to see if he is actually there, and if so, exactly where he is, Chen Xin said. Ning Fengzhai nodded. Inside Heaven Du City, half a day had passed, and the people here were still discussing the content on the sky screen. Zhu Hen was walking on the street, feeling the reality rate of the two characters, Super Douluo Zhu Hen and Sun God Descendant Yuan Kai, constantly rising, and his mood was wonderful. Then, like in many novel plots, his wonderful mood was quickly ruined. Beat him for me. The damned commoner actually dared to collide with my carriage. He must be tired of living. An extremely arrogant shout rang out. Looking in the direction of the sound, one could see a luxurious carriage stopped not far ahead. A man wearing the Heaven Du Royal Academy uniform was standing on the carriage, commanding several attendants to beat a person dressed in ordinary clothes. Your Highness, Fourth Prince, I am wronged. I did not collide with your carriage. The middle-aged man being beaten cried out. Bullshit, my horse was startled after it looked at you in the crowd. It must be because you are so ugly that you scared it. You say this doesn't count as a collision, the man shouted loudly. The man being beaten. Fourth Prince, Zhu Hen raised an eyebrow. In Heaven Du City, there was only one person who could be called the Fourth Prince, the king of picking up scraps from the original novel, the future emperor of the Heaven Du Empire, Zhu Beng. The novel wrote that to numb Kaian Renxu, he deliberately disguised himself as a useless playboy. At the time when he read it, he even admired him a little. Now, witnessing this disguised playboy with his own eyes, he felt, this guy really isn't a good thing. Ah, Your Highness, Fourth Prince, spare me, spare me. The middle-aged man, beaten until his head was bloody, shouted for mercy. Ha, spare your life. I haven't even said I wanted your life yet, and you're already screaming like this. What a useless piece of trash, Zhu Beng said with a look of disdain, watching the man being held on the ground and beaten wildly by his attendants. Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, a violent collision sound rang out. His whole body flew backward violently, and a more ear-piercing scream came from his mouth. Ah! Boom! Like a cannonball, he crashed into a nearby building, collapsing the wall, and was buried inside. Your Highness, hearing the commotion, his attendants turned back and saw this scene, all of them stunned. A few seconds later, they hurriedly and panickedly ran towards him. Zhu Hen lowered his raised arm, glanced at that spot indifferently, snorted softly, and then turned and left. The others around, watching him who had suddenly made a move and sent Zhu Beng flying from dozens of meters away, were all terrified. They scrambled to make way for him. No one dared to stand out to stop him, and even less dared to approach him. As for those attendants of Zhu Beng, they were busy digging him out, fearing he might be in mortal danger. For a moment, they didn't even think to come and apprehend this villain, who was so bold as to attack a prince in Heaven Du City. Just like that, Zhu Hen swaggered away from his crime scene, but he didn't go too far. He suddenly stopped in a small alley in the next street and said, "Come out, stop being so sneaky." Swish, as the words fell, a nimble figure jumped down from the alley's wall. This was a young girl wearing a short skirt and leather armor, revealing her fair thighs, with short dark purple hair. She looked full of heroic spirit. She couldn't be called stunningly beautiful, but she had a bewitching charm. Her eyes were green, very strange, giving people a somewhat eerie feeling. To think you could discover me, you have some skills. However, daring to attack a prince in Heaven Du City is not a wise move. Although I also hate that playboy Zhu Beng. Grandpa said that his uncle and he have done us a favor, so sorry. I have to capture you and hand you over to him to deal with. The girl lazily fiddled with her nails and said languidly to Zhu Hen. Ignoring her words of overestimating herself, looking at her hair and eyes, Zhu Hen said indifferently, "Young miss, you are poisoned." Later. Chapter 23, Emperor Zhu Yi doesn't want to endure anymore. Du Guyan paused her nail-fiddling motion, stunned on the spot. This person, what did he just say? I'm poisoned. What a joke, I am the granddaughter of the famous and formidable poison Douluo. It's always been me poisoning others, how could I possibly be poisoned myself? This guy is spouting nonsense to disrupt my battle intent so he can escape. What a cunning fellow. Don't play those petty tricks. I won't let you leave. Surrender obediently and you'll suffer less. Duguyan lowered her arms, activated her jade phosphor serpent spirit, and 3 spirit rings, yellow, yellow, and purple, emerged from beneath her feet. Looking at Zhu Hen before her, she licked the corner of her mouth and said, "You are too weak, you are no match for me." Looking at the young girl who had completed her spirit possession, Zhu Hen's tone remained unchanged, speaking very flatly. HMPH arrogant. In this Heaven-Do city, this was the first time she had been looked down upon like this. Duguyan was extremely unhappy and snorted coldly. Immediately, she leaned forward slightly, and then her entire body shot forward with extreme speed. 3rd spirit ability, Jade Phosphor Purple Poison. Because this person was too arrogant, and combined with how he had sent Xu Beng flying from a distance earlier, he must have some strength, so Duguyan directly used her strongest spirit ability, wanting to take him down in one move. However, your speed is slow too. Facing her as she attacked, Zhu Hen remained extremely calm. He raised his right arm and in an instant activated his spirit. A dazzling golden light flashed, and a long sword emitting powerful pressure, engraved with mountains and rivers on one side and the sun, moon, and stars on the other, appeared in his hand. At the same time, 9 spirit rings, yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 red, red, emerged one after another from beneath his feet. These spirit rings, you are. Wait. Duguyan, who was launching herself forward, looked at the scene before her, her eyes widening instantly, her brain almost crashing at this moment. Titled Douluo. And a titled Douluo with 2 100,000 year spirit rings. Plus this spirit. Zhu Hen, is this guy Zhu Hen? After Duguyan realized it, she hurriedly shouted to stop. Unfortunately, Zhu Hen was not her grandfather. How could he stop just because she said so? Without even using a spirit ability, he just held the sword and swung it forward casually. Boom! A sword pressure was unleashed by his slash. Too late to dodge, the poison she wanted to release was instantly annihilated into nothingness by this sword pressure. Duguyan, as if hit by a stampeding horse, spat out a large mouthful of blood and flew backward at a speed even faster than when she came. Not only that, under the impact of the sword pressure, the surface of her skin rapidly cracked, her muscles were also cut, and a large amount of blood spilled out. She went from a fair-skinned beauty to a bloody person at a speed visible to the naked eye. Bang! In the end, just like Xu Beng, she crashed into a wall, causing it to collapse, and she was buried by the broken bricks. Zhu Hen lowered the arm holding the sword. The imperial power sword turned into specks of golden light and vanished. He put his right hand behind his waist, looked at the place where Duguyan was buried, and said indifferently, "Those who aid evil deserve this retribution." After speaking, he turned and left directly. After walking a few steps, he stopped again, and 2 seconds later, he turned around and walked forward. Why did I turn around? My route was already forward. Zhu Hen stepped forward, brushing past the rubble. Not long after he left, a blood-stained palm tremblingly reached out from the rubble, and an extremely weak cry for help came from inside. "Grandfather, save me." Zhu Hen did not kill Duguyan. He only severely injured her with the sword pressure and incidentally cut several of her vital meridians, making it impossible for her to use spirit abilities at will in the future. This wasn't because Zhu Hen was soft-hearted. Her original intention was to capture him and hand him over to Xu Beng. If his strength hadn't been better than hers and she had succeeded, one could imagine with their toes what his end would have been. For someone like this who wanted to take his life, Zhu Hen wouldn't frown even if he sliced her into 1,000 pieces. However, her appearance could help him do one thing. Tell those people he had arrived in Heaven-Do City. It was also for this reason that Zhu Hen had activated the Imperial Power Sword Spirit just now. Otherwise, to deal with a Duguyan, he wouldn't even need to use his spirit. He did it just so she would recognize his identity. Of course, he could have just taken off his mask and let the passers-by recognize him, but that wouldn't fit his persona. Zhu Hen should hate trouble. Being recognized by many people and receiving attention wherever he went was not something he would like. Zhu Hen continued walking in the city while thinking about how many days it would take for him to reasonably stand in the foreground at this rate. A few hours later, in the Heaven-Do Imperial Palace, Emperor Zhu, you received a piece of intelligence sent by a royal spy. Opening it and reading it, his old eyes instantly lit up. He stood up from his seat and said excitedly, "Is it true?" "It is absolutely true. This is what Du Guyan said after she was revived." The spy lowered his head and replied, "Ha ha ha tilde great, this is truly great. The killing of my Zhu clan has come to Heaven Du City." Emperor Zhu Yi laughed toward the sky. He paced back and forth in the hall, muttering, "What did he come here for? He came to find me, right? He wants to beg me to restore his royal status, beg me to restore his birth mother's honor, beg me to appoint him as the heir to the Balak kingdom. Yes, it must be so." As he spoke, Emperor Zhu Yi turned his head abruptly and looked in the direction of the Spirit Hall, his face full of smugness. "Spirit Hall, now I am not afraid of you. You have many titled Douluo, right? I have Zhu Hen. My nephew has the bearing of a dragon and phoenix. His talent is unprecedented. He possesses 2 top-tier spirits, the Imperial Power Sword and the Emerald Swan. He had innate full spirit power, and in his early 20s he is already a super Douluo. His first spirit has 2 100,000-year spirit rings, and his second spirit already has 3. The remaining 6 can all be imbued with 100,000-year spirit rings. He is much stronger than your Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong. Come on, if you have the ability, send your titled Douluo to compare with us. Then we will let you know what true terror is." Ha 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 tilde. The more Emperor Zhu Yi spoke, the more excited he became. He opened his arms and laughed toward the sky again. There was no other way. As the ruler of a country, he had been suppressed by the Spirit Hall for too long. The Spirit Hall not only established Spirit Hall branches and main halls in every city of the Heaven Du Empire, but also frequently interfered in their domestic affairs. He had to endure it because he was wary of the Spirit Hall, possessing many titled Douluo. Now he didn't want to endure it anymore. He wanted to let the Spirit Hall know what an empire is, and what an emperor is. Tena. Below, the scout who had come to deliver intelligence saw how happy Emperor Zhu Yi was. He hesitated for a moment before reminding him, "Your Majesty, Poison Douluo is currently very angry. He has vowed to fight Super Douluo Zhu Hen to the death, swearing to risk his own life to avenge his granddaughter." Emperor Zhu Yi's wild laughter came to an abrupt halt. "Oh, is that so?" His expression gradually returned to calm. He looked down at the scout and said coldly, "Then let him go throw his life away. That granddaughter of his is ignorant of the heights of the heavens and the depths of the earth, and understands nothing of status and propriety. She dared to offend my nephew, never mind being seriously injured. Even if she had been beaten to death, she would have deserved it. He wants to take revenge, let him go. My nephew is a dignified super Douluo. He could flip him over 10 times with one hand. Would he be afraid of him? HMPH. Emperor Zhu Yi was extremely proud, as if Super Douluo Zhu Hen were his beloved, intimate nephew, rather than a cheap cousin-nephew born to his younger cousin, who had been expelled from the family and whom he had never met in reality. This, yes, seeing that Emperor Zhu Yi had said to let Poison Douluo go throw his life away without a second thought, discarding him so thoroughly, the scout's mouth twitched, and he lowered his head to respond. "Oh, that's right, Zhu Beng also offended my nephew, is that correct?" At this moment, Emperor Zhu Yi suddenly remembered the cause of the incident mentioned in the intelligence, and his brow furrowed. "Reporting to your Majesty, it doesn't count as offending him. It was just that the 4th prince was bullying, or rather, teaching a commoner a lesson at the time. Super Douluo Zhu Hen saw it and perhaps felt that the 4th prince was too somewhat overbearing, so he acted slightly. However, the 4th prince's injuries are not very serious. The palace physician says he will recover after resting for a period of time," the scout replied. HMPH, bullying commoners and lacking in learning. How could I have such a son? Pass on my decree. Zhu Beng is arrogant and unruly. Dock his salary for 1 year and confine him for 3 months, Emperor Zhu Yi decreed. "Yes, your Majesty." Also, pass on a decree to restore the status of Kundra's original wife as queen. Send her spirit tablet into the Imperial Ancestral Temple to be enshrined. Open the Imperial Ancestral Temple to the public for 3 days. All citizens of the Heaven Du Empire may enter to pay their respects, Emperor Zhu Yi continued. "Your Majesty, according to the rules, only members of the imperial family are allowed to enter the Imperial Ancestral Temple. The commoners of the Heaven Du Empire are all my subjects, and also the subjects of the past emperors. What is wrong with letting my own subjects enter the Imperial Ancestral Temple?" Emperor Zhu Yi said with a serious expression. At the same time, he thought to himself, "My biological mother has had her status as queen restored, and her spirit tablet has been sent to the Imperial Ancestral Temple. As her descendant, that child surely won't refuse to even go and take a look, right? Yes, he wanted to lure Super Douluo Hen out. As long as Super Douluo Hen came out, he, as the uncle, would immediately go to grab him, offer warm greetings and show the utmost concern, and then patiently try to persuade him, using the ancestral foundation and blood ties to convince him to stay and assist him in opposing Spirit Hall. As long as he could assist him, what would there be to fear in the future? What, Bibaidong has the Rakshasa god's legacy? HMPH, it sounds intimidating, but on the sky screen, wasn't she knocked down by that Yuan Kai in an instant? Conversely, look at my nephew. He met Yuan Kai on a narrow path in the Stardew Great Forest. That sense of composure, that bearing, coupled with the tone Yuan Kai used when speaking to him. All signs indicated that his nephew was far stronger than Bibaidong. Perhaps his nephew also possessed a god's legacy. Yes, he must have won too. Otherwise, how could he have surpassed everyone else by so much, reaching this realm in his early 20s? Emperor Zhuyi firmly believed in his heart. Then he waved his hand, signaling the scout to hurry and pass on his decree. This scout, who was also the chief of palace attendants, saw this and hurriedly retreated to carry out the orders. The two decrees quickly spread throughout the entire Heaven-Do city. Great Spirit Arena in the spectator stands. Super Douluo Hen, who was sitting there watching the spirit battle, listened to the people in the seats next to him discussing Emperor Zhuyi's decrees and smiled. This emperor, he actually has some level of competence, managing to think of using such a method to curry favor with him while simultaneously luring him out. Very well, since that is the case, he would go along with his wishes. It was also time to officially step onto the stage. Super Douluo Hen stood up and walked directly toward the exit. Hey friend, the spirit battle isn't over yet. Someone saw Super Douluo Hen leaving and reminded him. It is already over. That Ice Phoenix has won, Super Douluo Hen said indifferently. He did not stop his pace and continued walking out of the arena. Where is it over? This is clearly still evenly matched, the person muttered, then continued to watch the contest on the spirit battle stage. But as he watched, his expression gradually began to change. Because as the battle continued, the female spirit master nicknamed Ice Phoenix began to gain the upper hand and was suppressing the female spirit master opposite her, nicknamed Fiery Hua Wu. It was clearly evenly matched at the beginning, and Fiery Hua Wu, you are a fire attribute spirit master. Against an ice attribute, you should have the advantage. How are you at a disadvantage now? After a while longer. Boom, on the spirit battle stage, Ice Phoenix unleashed her fourth spirit ability, successfully defeating Fiery Hua Wu. In the spectator stands, a roar of excited cheers suddenly erupted. The spectator who had previously reminded Super Douluo Hen did not cheer for Ice Phoenix like the others. He stared at the scene on the spirit battle stage with a stunned expression and muttered, "She really did win." The next day, Imperial Ancestral Temple of Heaven-Do. Because Emperor Zhuyi had decreed that this place be opened, many commoners had come here to visit and pay their respects. Super Douluo Hen was still wearing his silver mask, following the crowd through the temple gate to enter. He first scanned the surrounding environment, then, following the signs for the areas where the spirit tablets of the various branches were placed, walked straight to the area for members of the Balak royal family. There were not many visitors here, and in this place, he saw a very conspicuous new spirit tablet. Balak Kingdom's spirit tablet of Queen Wang. It was exactly the spirit tablet of his biological mother in this life. Super Douluo Hen walked up to this spirit tablet, looked at it, then slowly lowered his head and bowed. Afterwards, he stood up, looked at it for a while longer, and then turned around to walk outside. At this moment, just as he had expected, someone appeared to try and stop him. "Henna, where is you going now?" "Henna." Super Douluo Hen suddenly felt a bit nauseous. He had long guessed that someone would be lying in wait, but this form of address. Super Douluo Hen frowned, stopped his steps, and looked in the direction of the voice. He saw an old man dressed in imperial attire, holding a scepter, running out quickly from behind with a few people. Zhu Ye. He was actually guarding this place himself. Emperor Zhuyi rushed to the front of Super Douluo Hen with the fastest speed in his life, dropped the scepter in his. hand and grabbed him directly with both hands. Wearing a silver mask, coming here to pay respects to the Wang family, plus this height and this build, it was exactly the same as on the sky screen. There could be no mistake. He was his precious nephew, the killing child of the Zhu clan, Super Douluo Zhu Hen. Chapter 25, Emperor Zhu Yi's Performance. Zhu Hen, is it you? I am your uncle Zhu Yi Zhu Hen. Emperor Zhu Yi gripped Zhu Hen's arm tightly with both hands, his eyes filled with a benevolent gaze, and he shouted with an extremely agitated expression. This commotion drew the attention of other onlookers nearby. Some recognized Emperor Zhu Yi, while others realized his identity from his attire. Immediately, they hurriedly bowed and knelt to the ground, lowering their heads and shouting, "Greetings, Your Majesty." Others who had not recognized Emperor Zhu Yi were startled when they heard the shouts of those around them. "Why, Your Majesty?" They looked at Emperor Zhu Yi with suspicious and surprised gazes, then widened their eyes. Through various clues, they either recognized him or became convinced of who he was, and all knelt down one after another, joining the others in shouting. In the end, in the entire imperial ancestral temple, except for Emperor Zhu Yi and Zhu Hen who were still standing, everyone else had knelt, including the few guards who had run out from the back with Emperor Zhu Yi. "Zhu Hen, your father and I are cousins. I am your uncle. You have suffered these past years. It is all my fault for not taking good care of you and being deceived by your heartless father for so long. He even submitted a report claiming you were unfilial, but in my opinion it is clearly he who is unfilial. He drove the killing of our Zhu clan out of the house. He has failed his ancestors and failed the nation. Child, I will stand up for you. I have already issued an imperial decree to send someone to reprimand Kundra. Your name has also been reinscribed in the royal genealogy as the heir to the kingdom of Barak. Child, since you have come to Heaven Du City, why not just stay? Stay here and let me compensate you for your father's actions, okay?" Ignoring those who were kneeling, Emperor Zhu Yi pulled on Zhu Hen and spoke a mouthful of words at a very rapid pace, leaving everyone else somewhat bewildered. "This is a bit too enthusiastic, isn't it?" Just as he had guessed earlier that someone was waiting for him here, but hadn't expected it to be Emperor Zhu Yi himself, he had also anticipated that Emperor Zhu Yi would try his best to recruit him and have him join his faction. However, for a dignified monarch to be this enthusiastic was truly beyond his expectations. It seems the precious spirit hall is putting on him is just too great. When he read the novel back then, that feeling wasn't clear enough, but now he truly feels it clearly. So it is the Emperor of the Heaven Du Empire in person. Zhu Hen pulled his arm from Emperor Zhu Yi's grasp, covered his mask, and then slowly removed it, revealing the handsome face hidden beneath. His features were exquisite, his skin was extremely fair, and his expression was indifferent. He exuded an aura that suggested he could remain calm even if the heavens were collapsing and the earth was splitting. "But you have mistaken me for someone else. My name is Jian Hen, not Zhu Hen," Zhu Hen said indifferently to Emperor Zhu Yi. Subsequently, he glanced at the spirit tablet of his mother. "Using the restoration of my mother's status as queen and opening the imperial ancestral temple to lure me out, Your Majesty's scheme was not exactly subtle. Many people could have guessed it, including me. I just did not expect that you, Your Majesty, would personally wait here." "This face. It is him, it really is him, my good nephew." Emperor Zhu Yi became even more agitated. He hurriedly said to Zhu Hen, "Uncle wanted to lure you out, but only to see you and persuade you to come home. This is not some conspiracy. If it was guessed, so be it. What is the big deal?" Zhu Hen, "Child, I understand that you have anger or even hatred toward your father, but you must never say that you do not bear the surname Zhu. You must know that you carry the bloodline of the Heaven Du royal family, which can never be removed. Your Zhu does not originate from your father, but from your grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather. It originates from the founding monarch of our Heaven Du Empire. Even if Kundra once drove you out of the house, that was only his small family. The Zhu clan, the great family of the Heaven Du royal lineage, will always be your family." Emperor Zhu Yi reached out again to grab Zhu Hen, continuing to speak to him with a face full of sincerity. "This guy, is he really this eloquent?" "Child, although you were young at the time, you should have heard later that when you were born, your grandfather was already critically ill. Yet he forced himself to endure his illness to hold an extremely lavish birthday banquet for you. Your name Zhu Hen was also personally chosen for you by your grandfather. Think about it, Kundra is Kundra, and your grandfather is your grandfather. Your name Zhu Hen was not chosen by Kundra, so why abandon it because of him? You are royalty, a noble heir of the Heaven Du royal family. Do you really want to abandon your honor and your family?" "Your Majesty, I have no family." Zhu Hen took a deep breath and once again pulled his arm from Emperor Zhu Yi's grasp. This won't do, this guy is too enthusiastic and seems to be very good at brainwashing. Unfortunately, as for this grandfather, I have no impression of him at all. This name, Zhu Hen, was chosen by him. This is the first time I've heard of it. As for the birthday banquet, which royal family doesn't hold a banquet when a child is born, what does that prove? I am your family, I am your uncle, Zhu Hen, Emperor Zhu Yi shouted agitatedly. You must not refuse to acknowledge me. If you don't acknowledge me then what face will I have to see your grandfather, my respected royal uncle, after I die? As he spoke, Emperor Zhu Yi suddenly raised his neck, beat his chest, and began to wail loudly. Royal uncle, your nephew has failed you. I couldn't take good care of your grandson, I have failed you. Whoosh, seeing this, Zhu Hen hurriedly took a step back, turned around, and transformed into a beam of sword light that passed through the gates of the imperial ancestral temple and vanished from the scene. His good nephew had suddenly disappeared. Emperor Zhu Yi, face full of tears, stopped his wailing abruptly, blinked his eyes, and stood there, stunned. Your Majesty, the prince has left. The captain of the guards who had accompanied him stood up and reminded him. I know, Emperor Zhu Yi snapped back to reality, put away the look of sorrow on his face, raised his sleeve to wipe his face, and then his expression became dignified. He said, he is resisting, but he still has some respect for me. When I called him Zhu Hen, although he emphasized that his name is Jian Hen, he did not get angry. This shows that he has never forgotten the name Zhu Hen. He just needs a way to save face and needs time to think. Give him some time. My nephew will not run away, I have confidence. Through the recent contact, Emperor Zhu Yi had at least a 70% confidence in successfully recruiting Zhu Hen. Congratulations, Your Majesty. Hearing Emperor Zhu Yi's words, the captain of the guards immediately bowed and offered his congratulations. On the other side, Zhu Hen, having removed his mask, was walking through the city. Because of the sky screen, everyone on the continent knew what he looked like. When he appeared swaggering on the street, the surrounding citizens all widened their eyes, extremely excited. Some even covered their mouths, struggling to keep themselves from screaming. His Excellency Zhu Hen, the living His Excellency Zhu Hen. That's it for today's chapter. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, and subscribe to AI Otaku Studio for more stories. Check out my other channel, Infinite Novel Audio, and I'll see you in the next chapter.